You have been taught your entire life that the harder you fight, the more you win, that the louder you speak, the more you are heard, that the tighter you hold on, the safer you become. So you fought. You pushed, you planned, you worried, you tried to control everything. And yet, after all that effort and exhaustion, life still slipped through your fingers like water. The opportunity did not come. The relationship fell apart. The peace you were chasing seemed to run faster the more you chased it. You were left sitting there, tired and confused, wondering what you were doing wrong. But here is a truth most people never hear. Ancient Buddhist masters discovered long ago that life is not meant to be forced. They observed the world in silence and realized that real power comes not from struggle, but from understanding. The problem was never that you did not try hard enough. The problem was that you were trying to control what cannot be controlled. There is a different way to live, a way that requires less force, yet creates deeper results, less control, yet brings greater freedom. It is called the art of allowing. 1. Stop trying to win every moment. Many people go through life with the hidden belief that they must prove their worth in every situation. They feel the need to respond to every criticism, defend every opinion, and make sure they are always seen as right or superior. This constant mental pressure turns ordinary conversations into silent competitions and simple situations into emotional battles. Over time, this habit creates deep inner tension because the mind never gets a chance to rest. It remains alert, defensive, and ready to fight even when there is no real danger. Buddhist wisdom teaches that this urge to win is often not a sign of strength, but a sign of fear. It may come from the fear of being judged, the fear of being ignored, or the fear of feeling unimportant. When you believe your value depends on winning every moment, you unknowingly give others control over your peace. Allowing means understanding that not every disagreement needs your response, and not every situation deserves your energy. Sometimes choosing silence is not weakness, it is emotional intelligence. When you stop trying to control every conversation or outcome, your mind begins to relax. You start noticing that many conflicts were never necessary in the first place. You save your energy for what truly matters, such as your growth, your purpose, and your inner balance. Real success, according to Buddhist teachings, is not about proving yourself to the world, but about understanding yourself deeply. By allowing some moments to pass without resistance, you build a quiet strength that makes you emotionally stable and mentally clear, even in challenging situations. 2. Let uncertainty become your teacher. Many people feel uncomfortable when they do not know what will happen next. They want clear answers, guaranteed results, and a perfectly planned path before they take any step forward. Because of this fear, they often overthink decisions, delay opportunities, and remain stuck in the same place for years. The mind keeps searching for security, but life itself is always changing and uncertain. This creates a constant inner conflict between the desire for control and the reality of unpredictability. Buddhist teachings explain that uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to learn from. It is through uncertain situations that people discover their hidden strength, creativity, and adaptability. Allowing means accepting that you cannot control everything, and that clarity often appears only after you move forward with courage. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions, you begin to grow naturally. You learn to trust your ability to handle challenges instead of trying to avoid them. As you practice allowing uncertainty to exist without panic, your confidence slowly increases. You realize that many of your fears were only imagined possibilities, not real obstacles. This shift in mindset helps you live more freely and make decisions with awareness rather than anxiety. Over time, uncertainty stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a teacher guiding you toward maturity, wisdom, and deeper self-trust. 3. Break the habit of emotional chasing. Many people unknowingly spend their entire lives chasing emotions instead of understanding them. They look for constant appreciation, attention, validation, and reassurance from others to feel good about themselves. When someone praises them, they feel confident and happy. When they are ignored, criticized, or misunderstood, they suddenly feel hurt, anxious, or insecure. This emotional dependence creates a roller coaster experience inside the mind, where peace comes and goes based on how others behave. Over time, this habit becomes exhausting because your happiness is no longer in your control. It is placed in the hands of people and situations that are always changing. Buddhist teachings explain that emotional chasing is one of the deepest causes of inner suffering. The mind becomes addicted to pleasant feelings and begins to resist uncomfortable ones. People start making decisions not from wisdom, but from the desire to feel good instantly. They may seek approval by changing their personality, suppress their true thoughts to avoid rejection, or stay in unhealthy relationships just to avoid feeling lonely. This constant pursuit of emotional comfort weakens inner strength and creates fear of loss. Allowing means learning to observe emotions without running after them or trying to escape them. It means understanding that feelings are temporary experiences, not permanent truths. When you practice allowing emotions to rise and fall naturally, something powerful begins to happen. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding with awareness. You realize that you can feel sadness without being broken, and you can feel happiness without becoming attached to it. This creates a stable inner ground where your peace does not depend on external approval. Relationships become healthier because you are no longer demanding constant emotional satisfaction from others. You communicate more honestly, you listen more calmly, and you act from clarity instead of desperation. Breaking the habit of emotional chasing does not make you cold or detached from life. Instead, it makes you more present and emotionally intelligent. You begin to experience feelings more deeply because you are not trying to control them. Joy becomes more meaningful because it is not forced, and pain becomes more manageable because it is understood. This lesson teaches that true freedom is not about always feeling good, but about becoming strong enough to remain balanced in both pleasant and unpleasant moments. When you stop chasing emotions, you start discovering a quiet happiness within yourself that is steady, natural, and deeply fulfilling. 4. Stop forcing life to match your imagination. Many people carry a detailed picture in their minds of how life is supposed to look. They imagine the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect timing for success, and the perfect version of themselves. This imagination can be motivating at first, but it often turns into a silent source of suffering when reality does not follow the same script. When things happen differently than expected, frustration, disappointment, and self-doubt begin to grow. The mind starts asking painful questions like, "Why is my life not going the way I planned?" Or, "Why are others moving ahead while I feel stuck?" This inner conflict creates emotional tension because you are not only facing challenges in the real world, but also fighting against your own expectations. Buddhist teachings explain that attachment to mental images is one of the main causes of dissatisfaction. When you become too fixed in your ideas about how life should unfold, you stop seeing the beauty and opportunities present in how life is actually unfolding. Allowing means loosening your grip on rigid expectations and becoming open to unexpected paths. It does not mean giving up on your dreams or ambitions. It means understanding that the journey toward them may look very different from what you imagined. Sometimes what you see as a delay is actually preparation. Sometimes what you see as failure is a redirection toward something more meaningful. When you stop forcing life to match your imagination, you begin to notice possibilities that were always there but hidden by your narrow focus. You become more flexible in your thinking and more creative in your actions. Instead of feeling defeated when plans change, you start adapting with calmness and wisdom. This mindset reduces comparison with others because you realize that everyone's path is unique. Gratitude begins to replace constant dissatisfaction, and patience becomes easier because you trust that life has its own intelligence. Over time, allowing reality to guide you creates emotional freedom. You stop feeling trapped by timelines and social expectations. You start valuing growth over speed and understanding over control. This lesson teaches that real peace does not come from making life fit your imagination, but from expanding your awareness to see the deeper purpose behind every unexpected turn. When you allow life to surprise you, you discover strengths you never knew you had and opportunities you never planned for. In this way, your journey becomes more authentic, more meaningful, and far less stressful than the one you once tried so hard to force. 5. Learn the power of not reacting immediately. In modern life, speed has become a habit not only in our actions, but also in our emotions. People feel pressured to respond instantly to messages, opinions, challenges, and unexpected situations. When something uncomfortable happens, the mind quickly jumps to conclusions, creates stories, and pushes the body into reaction mode. Anger rises before understanding appears. Fear grows before facts are clear. Words are spoken before wisdom has a chance to guide them. This pattern of immediate reaction slowly weakens emotional stability because the mind never experiences true stillness. It remains in a constant state of alertness, always ready to defend, argue, or escape. Buddhist teachings offer a deeply transformative insight into this behavior. They remind us that between any external event and our internal response, there exists a subtle but powerful pause. Most people are unaware of this pause because they are conditioned to act automatically. Allowing means becoming conscious of this small space and using it as a source of strength. When you pause even for a few seconds, you give your awareness the opportunity to observe what is really happening inside you. You begin to notice your breathing, your thoughts, and the emotional wave rising within. This simple act of observation changes the quality of your response. For example, when someone criticizes you, the immediate reaction may be to defend yourself or attack back. However, if you allow yourself a moment of stillness, you may realize that your hurt is not only about their words, but also about your own insecurities. This realization creates compassion instead of conflict. You may choose to respond calmly, ask questions, or even remain silent. In this way, you transform a potentially damaging situation into an opportunity for growth and understanding. Allowing does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means acknowledging them without letting them control your actions. Practicing this lesson also protects you from making decisions that you later regret. Many people apologize for words spoken in anger or actions taken in fear. Immediate reactions often come from temporary emotions, while wise responses come from deeper awareness. When you learn to pause, your decisions become clearer and more aligned with your long-term values. You begin to act from purpose rather than impulse. This builds trust in yourself and in your relationships because others start to see you as calm, thoughtful, and emotionally mature. Over time, this habit of conscious pause strengthens your mind in profound ways. Stressful situations that once overwhelmed you start to feel manageable. You develop patience not as a forced behavior, but as a natural quality. Your energy is no longer wasted on unnecessary arguments or mental drama. Instead, it is directed toward meaningful actions and personal growth. The mind becomes like a still lake that reflects reality clearly instead of a stormy ocean that distorts everything. This lesson teaches that true power is not in reacting quickly, but in responding wisely. When you allow space before action, you gain mastery over your emotions and break free from automatic patterns that once controlled you. Life begins to feel slower, clearer, and more intentional. You start to experience a deep inner confidence because you know that no matter what happens around you, you have the ability to remain centered. In this way, the simple practice of not reacting immediately becomes a doorway to emotional freedom, mental clarity, and lasting inner peace. 6. Release the illusion that more effort always means more results. From a very young age, most people are taught a simple formula about success and achievement. Work harder, push more, struggle longer, and you will eventually get what you want. While effort and dedication are certainly important, this belief often becomes extreme and unbalanced. Many individuals begin to think that if something is not working, the only solution is to force it with even more pressure. They push their minds beyond exhaustion, they ignore their emotional needs, and they continue running even when they no longer understand where they are going. This constant striving creates the illusion that life is a race that must be won through sheer force. Over time, the mind becomes tense, creativity fades, and joy disappears from the journey. Buddhist wisdom offers a deeply different perspective that can feel surprising at first. It teaches that not all progress comes from effort alone. Sometimes growth happens through awareness, patience, and intelligent timing rather than continuous struggle. Allowing means understanding the difference between meaningful action and desperate pushing. When you are constantly forcing results, you are often acting from fear rather than clarity. You fear falling behind, you fear losing opportunities, and you fear being seen as unsuccessful. This fear-driven effort may produce temporary achievements, but it rarely creates lasting peace or fulfillment. Many people experience this pattern in their daily lives. They work long hours without rest, believing that stopping even for a moment will make them weak or unproductive. They try to control every detail of their plans, refusing to trust that life also has its own natural rhythm. They compare themselves with others who seem to be moving faster and push themselves even harder to keep up. However, this constant pressure slowly drains emotional energy and creates mental burnout. The mind becomes overloaded with expectations, and even small obstacles begin to feel overwhelming. Instead of moving forward with confidence, they start moving forward with anxiety. Allowing teaches you to step back and observe your effort with honesty. It asks a simple but powerful question: are you acting from awareness or from fear? When you act from awareness, your effort becomes focused, calm, and purposeful. You know when to move forward and when to pause. You understand that rest is not laziness but preparation. Just as a field needs time to recover after harvest, the human mind needs moments of stillness to regain strength and clarity. When you allow yourself to slow down, you create space for deeper understanding and better decisions. Nature provides countless examples of this principle. A tree does not grow by forcing its branches to expand overnight. It grows gradually, following seasons, responding to sunlight, rain, and time. If growth were forced, the tree would break under its own pressure. In the same way, human development requires balance. When you push constantly without allowing natural pauses, you risk losing stability. This does not mean you stop working toward your goals. Instead, it means you work with wisdom, recognizing that timing and awareness are as important as effort. Another important aspect of this lesson is the role of creativity and insight. Many breakthroughs in life do not happen when the mind is tense and overworked. They occur when the mind is relaxed, open, and receptive. Have you ever noticed how solutions to problems often appear when you are walking, resting, or doing something simple and peaceful? This happens because allowing gives the mind freedom to connect ideas and see possibilities that were hidden during stress. When you stop forcing answers, clarity often arrives naturally. This is not magic. It is the result of a balanced mental state. Releasing the illusion that more effort always brings more results also transforms your relationship with failure. When you are trapped in the mindset of constant pushing, every setback feels like a personal defeat. You begin to doubt your abilities and question your worth. However, when you practice allowing, you start to see setbacks as part of the learning process rather than obstacles that must be crushed. You become more patient with yourself and more willing to adjust your path. This flexibility reduces fear and increases resilience. Instead of feeling stuck, you feel capable of adapting and growing. This lesson also improves relationships and emotional well-being. When people are constantly forcing success in one area of life, they often neglect other important aspects such as health, family, and inner peace. They may achieve external recognition but feel empty inside. Allowing helps you restore balance. It reminds you that life is not only about reaching goals, but also about experiencing the journey with awareness. When you give yourself permission to rest and reflect, you reconnect with your deeper values and rediscover what truly matters. Over time, practicing this teaching creates a profound shift in how you approach challenges. You begin to trust that intelligent effort combined with patience is far more powerful than endless struggle. You learn to recognize when to act decisively and when to wait for the right moment. This skill brings confidence because you are no longer acting blindly. You move with clarity instead of desperation. Your actions become more effective because they are guided by understanding rather than pressure. Ultimately, releasing the illusion that more effort always means more results is about discovering a new way of living. It is about realizing that life is not meant to be forced at every step. Sometimes the most meaningful progress happens when you align your effort with the natural flow of events. When you do less with awareness, worry less about outcomes, and remain open to life's rhythm, you begin to experience a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. Achievements still come, but they arrive with less stress and more joy. In this way, allowing becomes not only a spiritual practice, but also a practical path to sustainable success and inner harmony. 7. Discover the freedom of needing nothing from the world. One of the deepest forms of suffering in human life comes from the silent belief that happiness depends on external conditions. Many people feel that they can only be peaceful when others approve of them, when their plans succeed, when relationships remain perfect, or when life moves according to their expectations. Because of this belief, they spend years chasing security outside themselves. They seek validation, comfort, recognition, and emotional guarantees from the world. At first, this may feel natural because human beings are social and connected by nature. However, when this need becomes excessive, it slowly weakens inner stability. Your mood begins to depend on how others treat you, your confidence depends on your achievements, and your sense of worth depends on situations that are constantly changing. Buddhist teachings reveal a powerful and sometimes shocking truth. Real freedom begins when you reduce your psychological dependence on the world. This does not mean rejecting life, isolating yourself, or becoming emotionally cold. Instead, it means discovering a stable inner ground where your peace does not collapse every time circumstances change. Allowing means learning to enjoy what life offers without clinging to it as if it were the only source of happiness. When you reach this understanding, you no longer live in constant fear of loss or rejection. You begin to experience life with openness rather than desperation. Many people do not realize how deeply they are controlled by their needs. They may stay in unhealthy environments because they fear loneliness. They may tolerate disrespect because they fear losing approval. They may overwork themselves because they believe success will finally make them feel valuable. This constant striving creates tension and anxiety because the mind is always trying to secure something that can never be fully secured. The world is unpredictable, relationships change, opportunities appear and disappear, and circumstances evolve beyond our control. When your peace is built only on these external factors, it becomes fragile. Allowing teaches you to gradually shift your focus inward. Instead of asking, "What do I need from the world to feel complete?" you begin to ask, "How can I develop a mindset that remains peaceful regardless of what happens?" This shift is not easy, but it is deeply liberating. You start noticing that many of your desires were driven by fear rather than genuine purpose. You realize that you can experience moments of contentment even when things are not perfect. This awareness builds emotional independence, which is one of the greatest strengths a person can have. As you practice needing less from the world, gratitude naturally increases. You begin to appreciate simple experiences such as quiet moments, meaningful conversations, or small achievements. Your happiness becomes less dramatic but more stable. Instead of extreme highs and lows, you experience a steady sense of well-being. This stability helps you make wiser decisions because you are no longer acting from desperation. You choose relationships based on mutual respect rather than emotional dependency. You pursue goals because they inspire you, not because you are trying to prove your worth. Another powerful aspect of this lesson is the transformation of fear. When you depend heavily on external outcomes, fear becomes a constant companion. You fear losing people, losing status, losing opportunities, or losing control. However, when you discover that your inner peace does not rely entirely on these things, fear begins to loosen its grip. You still care about your goals and relationships, but you no longer feel destroyed by uncertainty. This creates courage because you understand that you can handle change and adapt to new situations. This freedom also deepens your connection with the present moment. When you are not obsessed with securing the future or protecting the past, you can fully experience what is happening now. You listen more attentively, you observe more clearly, and you respond more wisely. Life becomes richer because you are not constantly distracted by worries about what you might lose. Instead, you engage with life from a place of calm awareness. This presence allows you to build stronger relationships and achieve goals with greater clarity. It is important to understand that needing nothing from the world does not mean becoming passive or unambitious. It means acting with purpose while remaining emotionally balanced. You still work towards success, you still care about people, and you still dream about the future. The difference is that your happiness does not collapse if things do not go exactly as planned. This balance creates resilience, which is the ability to recover from challenges without losing your sense of self. Over time, this practice leads to a profound inner transformation. You begin to see yourself as complete rather than constantly lacking. You stop measuring your worth through comparison and external validation. You develop a quiet confidence that does not need to be displayed or defended. This confidence attracts opportunities and respect naturally because people sense your stability and authenticity. Ironically, when you stop needing the world so desperately, the world often begins to offer you more. Relationships become healthier, achievements feel more satisfying, and peace becomes more consistent. Ultimately, discovering the freedom of needing nothing from the world is about aligning with a deeper truth of human existence. Everything outside you is temporary, but awareness and understanding can become stable sources of strength. By allowing life to come and go without clinging, you experience a form of liberation that is both spiritual and practical. You live fully, love sincerely, and act wisely, yet you remain grounded in a peace that does not depend on constant control or approval. This lesson shows that true abundance is not about possessing more, but about needing less and trusting that what is meant for you will naturally find its way into your life. 8. Allow life to break your old identity. One of the most intense and life-changing experiences a person can go through is the moment when the version of themselves they have always known begins to fall apart. For many years, people slowly build an identity without even realizing it. They define themselves through their profession, their achievements, their social image, their relationships, and the expectations placed upon them by family and society. This identity feels comfortable because it gives a sense of direction and belonging. It tells you who you are, what you are supposed to do, and how others are likely to see you. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that this identity, no matter how strong it appears, is not permanent. It is a temporary structure created by thoughts, memories, and experiences. Life has a mysterious way of testing these structures. Situations arise that shake your confidence, challenge your beliefs, and push you into unfamiliar territory. A career path you once trusted may suddenly feel meaningless. A relationship you believed would last forever may end unexpectedly. A dream you worked toward for years may collapse without warning. During such moments, it can feel as though the ground beneath you has disappeared. Fear, confusion, and sadness naturally appear because the mind is losing something it relied on for stability. Many people resist this phase intensely. They try to rebuild the same identity as quickly as possible, hoping to return to a sense of certainty. Yet Buddhism suggests that these breakdowns are not accidents, but invitations to deeper awakening. Allowing life to break your old identity means understanding that transformation often begins with discomfort. Just as a seed must split open before a plant can grow, your familiar self-image must sometimes dissolve so that a more authentic version of you can emerge. This process requires courage because it asks you to face uncertainty without rushing to escape it. Instead of clinging to the past or forcing a new direction immediately, allowing encourages you to observe what is happening inside your mind. You start to notice how strongly you were attached to labels such as successful, important, strong, or even misunderstood. When these labels begin to fade, you may feel empty at first. However, this emptiness is not a loss of value. It is a space where genuine understanding can develop. Many individuals carry identities that were shaped by fear rather than truth. Someone may define themselves as a people-pleaser because they once believed approval was necessary for survival. Another person may define themselves as a failure because of a few painful experiences. These identities become mental habits that influence decisions and limit potential. Allowing life to challenge these habits opens the door to freedom. When you stop defending who you used to be, you gain the opportunity to explore who you can become. This shift is not about rejecting your past, but about learning from it with compassion. Nature offers a powerful reflection of this principle. Throughout the year, trees lose their leaves during certain seasons. To an observer, this may look like decay or loss. Yet this process is essential for renewal. By letting go of what is no longer needed, the tree prepares itself for new growth. In the same way, human beings must release outdated beliefs, roles, and attachments in order to evolve. If you hold on to an identity that no longer fits your inner truth, you create tension within yourself. Allowing change reduces this tension and makes growth feel more natural. During this transformation, emotional turbulence is common. You may question your direction, your purpose, or even your sense of worth. Buddhist teachings encourage you to treat these questions not as threats, but as signs of awakening. When old certainties disappear, the mind becomes more open to deeper inquiry. You begin to look beyond superficial measures of success and start asking meaningful questions about what truly brings peace and fulfillment. This reflection gradually leads to self-discovery. You may realize that your happiness was never meant to depend solely on external roles or achievements. Another important aspect of allowing identity to transform is the development of resilience. Once you experience the breaking of an old self-image and survive it, you become less afraid of future changes. You understand that while circumstances may shift, your ability to adapt remains strong. This realization builds confidence that is not based on pride, but on awareness. You learn to move through uncertainty with patience, knowing that clarity will emerge in time. Instead of seeing change as a threat, you begin to view it as a natural rhythm of life. This lesson also reshapes relationships. When your identity changes, the way you connect with others often changes as well. Some relationships may deepen because they are built on authenticity rather than expectations. Others may fade because they were connected to a version of you that no longer exists. Although this can feel lonely, it is also a necessary step toward emotional maturity. Allowing means trusting that the right connections will form as you become more aligned with your true self. As new perspectives develop, your understanding of success becomes more balanced. You start valuing inner qualities such as awareness, compassion, and honesty more than external recognition. Achievements still matter, but they no longer define your entire sense of self. This reduces pressure and makes your efforts more meaningful. You begin to act from purpose rather than from the need to maintain an image. Life feels less like a performance and more like a genuine journey of growth. Over time, allowing life to break your old identity leads to a quiet but powerful liberation. You no longer feel trapped by past labels or rigid expectations. You move through experiences with openness, ready to learn and evolve. Challenges become opportunities to refine your character rather than threats to your existence. This mindset brings a deep sense of peace because you trust the process of transformation. You understand that identity is not something you must protect at all costs, but something that naturally evolves as you gain insight. Ultimately, this lesson teaches that true strength lies in flexibility. By allowing change to reshape you, you become more resilient, more authentic, and more connected to the present moment. You discover that beneath all temporary identities, there is a deeper awareness that remains steady. This awareness becomes your true foundation. From this place, you can engage with life fully while remaining free from the fear of losing who you are. In this way, the breaking of your old identity becomes not an ending, but the beginning of a more conscious and meaningful way of living. 9. Stop measuring your life against invisible standards. One of the most subtle yet powerful sources of human suffering is the constant habit of measuring one's life against standards that are rarely questioned. From childhood, people are surrounded by ideas about what success should look like, how fast progress should happen, what kind of lifestyle is considered respectable, and what achievements are supposed to define a meaningful existence. These standards are often presented so frequently that they begin to feel natural and unquestionable. Over time, individuals start comparing their journey with these invisible benchmarks, believing that happiness will only arrive once they meet certain expectations. This creates a silent pressure that shapes decisions, influences emotions, and gradually steals inner peace. Buddhist teachings offer a deeply transformative perspective on this tendency. They explain that much of human dissatisfaction arises not from real problems, but from imagined comparisons. When the mind constantly measures itself against external timelines or societal definitions of success, it becomes trapped in a cycle of judgment and self-doubt. Allowing means recognizing that many of these standards are not absolute truths, but collective ideas that may not align with your authentic path. By becoming aware of this, you begin to loosen the grip that comparison has on your thoughts and emotions. Many people experience this struggle without fully understanding its source. They see others achieving milestones such as financial stability, recognition, or personal relationships and begin to feel that they are falling behind. Even when they are making genuine progress, they may feel dissatisfied because their achievements do not match the pace or style of someone else's journey. This mindset creates a constant sense of urgency and inadequacy. Instead of appreciating what is unfolding in their own lives, they become focused on an imaginary race that has no clear finish line. Allowing life to unfold without constant comparison requires a shift in awareness. It means questioning the assumptions that have been accepted without reflection. Why must success follow a specific timeline? Why must happiness look the same for everyone? Why should worth be measured by external validation rather than inner growth? When you begin to explore these questions honestly, you may realize that many standards were never chosen consciously. They were inherited from culture, family expectations, or social influence. Recognizing this fact can be liberating because it opens the possibility of redefining what truly matters to you. This lesson becomes clearer when you observe how nature operates. In a forest, no tree compares its height with another tree in order to feel complete. Each grows according to its own conditions, responding to sunlight, soil, and time. Some trees mature quickly, while others take decades to reach their full potential. Yet all contribute to the balance and beauty of the ecosystem. Human beings, however, often forget this natural diversity and impose rigid expectations on themselves. Allowing means returning to a more organic understanding of growth, where progress is guided by awareness rather than competition. One of the challenges in releasing invisible standards is the fear of losing motivation. Many people believe that comparison is necessary for ambition and improvement. Buddhist wisdom suggests otherwise. True motivation arises from clarity of purpose, not from the anxiety of keeping up with others. When you stop measuring your life against arbitrary benchmarks, you do not become passive or indifferent. Instead, you gain the freedom to pursue goals that are genuinely meaningful. Your actions become driven by curiosity, creativity, and personal values, rather than by the pressure to prove your worth. Another important aspect of this teaching is the impact on emotional well-being. Constant comparison can create cycles of pride and shame. When you feel ahead of others, you may experience temporary satisfaction or superiority. When you feel behind, you may experience disappointment or self-criticism. Both reactions keep the mind unstable because they depend on fluctuating circumstances. Allowing reduces this instability by shifting focus inward. Instead of asking, "How do I compare to others?" you begin to ask, "What am I learning from my experiences?" This change encourages self-compassion and resilience. As you practice this mindset, relationships also begin to transform. When comparison decreases, envy and competition lose their intensity. You become more capable of celebrating others' achievements without feeling threatened. At the same time, you become more honest about your own aspirations, recognizing that your path does not need to mirror anyone else's. This authenticity strengthens connections because interactions are no longer filtered through insecurity or the need for validation. Allowing creates space for mutual respect and understanding. Releasing invisible standards also helps you appreciate the present moment more deeply. When you are not constantly measuring your progress against imagined expectations, you can notice the richness of everyday experiences. Small successes, quiet moments of clarity, and gradual improvements become sources of contentment. This does not mean abandoning ambition, but balancing it with gratitude. You begin to see life not as a checklist of achievements, but as an unfolding process of discovery. Each stage, whether comfortable or challenging, becomes meaningful in its own way. This lesson is particularly powerful during periods of uncertainty or transition. When plans change or goals take longer than expected, invisible standards can create unnecessary frustration. Allowing helps you interpret these moments differently. Instead of viewing delays as failures, you start seeing them as opportunities for reflection and growth. This perspective reduces fear and encourages adaptability. You learn to trust that progress may occur in forms that are not immediately visible, such as increased wisdom, emotional maturity, or deeper understanding of your values. Over time, the practice of releasing comparison leads to a more stable sense of identity. You stop defining yourself solely through achievements or social approval. Instead, you recognize qualities such as awareness, kindness, and integrity as indicators of genuine development. This shift creates a quiet confidence that is not easily shaken by external fluctuations. You become less reactive to praise or criticism because your sense of worth is no longer dependent on how well you meet invisible standards. Allowing also encourages creativity and innovation. When you are not bound by rigid expectations, you feel more free to explore unconventional ideas or paths. Many breakthroughs in art, science, and personal growth have occurred because individuals dared to step outside established norms. By trusting your unique perspective, you contribute something authentic to the world rather than simply repeating what is already familiar. This authenticity often brings fulfillment that comparison-driven success cannot provide. It is important to remember that releasing invisible standards is a gradual process. Habits of comparison may still arise, especially in environments where competition is emphasized. Buddhist teachings suggest responding to these moments with mindfulness rather than self-judgment. When you notice the urge to compare, you can pause and observe it as a passing mental pattern. This awareness weakens its influence over time. Allowing means being patient with yourself as you cultivate a more balanced outlook. Ultimately, this lesson reveals a profound truth about freedom. Much of the pressure people experience in life comes not from actual demands, but from internalized expectations that feel compulsory. By questioning and releasing these expectations, you create space for a more authentic and peaceful way of living. You begin to trust that your journey, with its unique pace and direction, has its own value. Instead of chasing an invisible finish line, you engage fully with each step, learning and evolving along the way. When you stop measuring your life against invisible standards, you discover that progress is not a competition, but a personal unfolding. Happiness becomes less about reaching specific milestones and more about cultivating awareness and compassion. You realize that true success cannot be defined solely by external criteria, but by the depth of understanding you bring to your experiences. This realization transforms how you approach goals, relationships, and challenges. Life becomes less about proving yourself and more about expressing your authentic potential. In this way, allowing yourself to live beyond comparison is not a loss of ambition, but a gain of clarity. You still strive, create, and grow, but your actions are guided by inner wisdom rather than by fear of inadequacy. This mindset nurtures resilience because it is grounded in self-acceptance. It fosters gratitude because you are able to appreciate what you have while remaining open to new possibilities. Most importantly, it cultivates peace because your sense of worth no longer depends on standards that were never truly yours. 10. Surrender the need to control the entire journey. One of the most exhausting habits the human mind develops is the constant attempt to control every step of life's journey. Many people believe that if they plan enough, think enough, and work hard enough, they can eliminate uncertainty and shape the future exactly according to their desires. This belief creates an illusion of safety, but it also produces deep mental tension. The mind becomes busy calculating outcomes, predicting risks, and trying to secure guarantees that life can never truly provide. Over time, this constant need for control drains emotional energy and prevents individuals from experiencing the natural flow of existence. Buddhist wisdom offers a different understanding of how life unfolds. It teaches that while intention and effort are important, complete control is neither possible nor necessary. Life is a dynamic process influenced by countless conditions beyond personal will. When you try to manage every detail, you may succeed temporarily in creating order, but you also create fear of losing that order. This fear keeps the mind restless and prevents genuine peace. Allowing means recognizing that you can guide your direction without forcing every outcome. It is the art of participating in life rather than attempting to dominate it. Many individuals struggle with this lesson because control feels comforting. It gives the impression of strength and preparedness. For example, someone may carefully plan their career path, expecting steady progress and predictable rewards. When unexpected changes occur, such as market shifts or personal challenges, frustration arises because the plan no longer guarantees success. Similarly, people often try to control relationships by anticipating reactions, managing impressions, or avoiding vulnerability. This effort to maintain stability can lead to anxiety because it requires constant vigilance. Allowing invites a different approach, one that balances responsibility with acceptance. To surrender the need for total control does not mean abandoning goals or becoming passive. Instead, it means understanding the limits of personal influence. You can choose your actions, but you cannot fully determine how others will respond. You can prepare for the future, but you cannot eliminate every surprise. When you accept these realities, your effort becomes more intelligent and less stressful. You begin to focus on what is within your reach, such as developing skills, maintaining integrity, and cultivating awareness. At the same time, you release the pressure to guarantee specific results. Nature illustrates this principle beautifully. A sailor can set the direction of the boat and adjust the sails, but cannot command the wind. By working with changing conditions rather than fighting them, the journey becomes smoother and more effective. In the same way, human beings can navigate life by responding to circumstances with flexibility. When you insist on controlling everything, you may waste energy resisting forces that cannot be altered. Allowing teaches you to adapt with patience, trusting that even unexpected events can lead to growth and insight. Another important dimension of this lesson is the relationship between control and fear. The urge to control often arises from the fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty. People believe that if they can manage every possibility, they can avoid discomfort. However, this strategy rarely works in the long term. Life continues to present unpredictable situations, and the effort to control them increases anxiety rather than reducing it. Buddhist teachings suggest that courage grows when you face uncertainty directly instead of trying to eliminate it. Allowing uncertainty to exist without panic creates resilience and emotional maturity. This mindset also improves decision-making. When you are not obsessed with controlling the entire journey, you can evaluate situations more clearly. You become less attached to rigid plans and more open to adjusting your approach. This flexibility encourages creativity because you are not limited by predetermined expectations. Many successful endeavors emerge from the ability to respond wisely to changing circumstances. By surrendering excessive control, you create space for insight and innovation. Relationships benefit greatly from this perspective. Attempts to control how others think or feel often lead to tension and misunderstanding. When you allow people the freedom to be themselves, communication becomes more honest and respectful. You learn to express your needs without forcing agreement. This balance strengthens trust because interactions are guided by authenticity rather than manipulation. Allowing does not mean tolerating harmful behavior. It means recognizing that genuine connection cannot be engineered through control. Surrendering the need for total control also deepens your appreciation of the present moment. When the mind is constantly focused on managing the future, it misses the richness of current experiences. By releasing some of this pressure, you can engage more fully with what is happening now. Simple activities such as listening, observing, or reflecting become meaningful sources of contentment. This presence reduces stress because you are no longer living solely in anticipation of what might happen next. During challenging periods, this lesson becomes especially valuable. Unexpected losses, changes, or setbacks can feel overwhelming if your sense of security depends entirely on control. Allowing helps you reinterpret these moments as part of a larger process rather than as personal defeats. You begin to trust that even difficulties can contribute to growth. This trust does not remove pain, but provides a stable perspective that prevents despair. You understand that resilience comes from adapting to reality, not from forcing reality to conform to your wishes. Over time, practicing surrender leads to a deeper sense of inner freedom. You realize that peace does not require certainty about every outcome. Instead, it arises from confidence in your ability to respond wisely to whatever unfolds. This confidence is different from rigid control. It is flexible and grounded in awareness. You move through life with a sense of participation rather than domination. Achievements still matter, but they are no longer the sole measure of your worth. Another profound effect of this lesson is the transformation of ambition. When you release the need to control the entire journey, your goals become expressions of curiosity and purpose rather than sources of anxiety. You work diligently, but you also allow space for rest and reflection. You celebrate progress without clinging to perfection. This balanced approach increases sustainability because it prevents burnout and fosters long-term motivation. Surrendering control also enhances gratitude. When you recognize that not everything is the result of personal effort, you become more aware of the interconnected nature of life. Opportunities, support, and favorable conditions often arise from factors beyond individual planning. Acknowledging this interconnectedness cultivates humility and appreciation. You start to value collaboration and shared growth rather than viewing success as a solitary achievement. It is important to note that letting go of excessive control is a gradual process. Habits of planning and managing outcomes may still appear, especially in high-pressure environments. Buddhist teachings recommend observing these impulses without harsh judgment. Each moment of awareness weakens the automatic drive to control. Over time, you develop a more balanced relationship with uncertainty, one that combines preparation with openness. Ultimately, surrendering the need to control the entire journey reveals a deeper truth about life. Existence is not a rigid sequence of predictable events, but a flowing process shaped by countless interactions. When you align your effort with this flow, you experience greater harmony. Challenges become opportunities for learning, and successes become moments of gratitude rather than pride. This perspective fosters resilience because it is rooted in acceptance rather than resistance. By allowing life to unfold, while contributing your best intentions and actions, you cultivate a sense of peace that does not depend on constant certainty. You discover that true strength lies in adaptability, awareness, and trust. Instead of trying to dominate every step, you walk the path with clarity and humility. In this way, surrender becomes not a loss of power, but a transformation of it. You gain the freedom to engage fully with life, confident that even when the journey changes direction, you have the inner stability to continue moving forward with wisdom and balance. 11. Allow silence to become your inner teacher. In a world that is constantly filled with noise, movement, and endless stimulation, silence has become something many people unconsciously fear. From the moment they wake up until the moment they fall asleep, their minds are occupied with conversations, social media, responsibilities, entertainment, and internal dialogue that never truly rests. This continuous engagement creates the illusion of productivity and connection, but it also prevents deep understanding. Buddhist wisdom teaches that silence is not emptiness. It is a powerful space where insight, healing, and clarity naturally emerge. Allowing silence to become your inner teacher means learning to be comfortable with stillness and discovering the profound wisdom that arises when the mind is no longer overwhelmed by distraction. Many individuals avoid silence because it brings them face to face with thoughts and emotions they have been trying to escape. When external noise disappears, inner noise becomes more noticeable. Old memories, unresolved fears, and unanswered questions may surface. This can feel uncomfortable at first, leading people to quickly return to familiar distractions. However, Buddhist teachings explain that this discomfort is not a sign that silence is harmful. It is a sign that the mind is finally beginning to observe itself honestly. Allowing this process to unfold without resistance is an important step toward emotional maturity and self-awareness. Silence has a unique ability to reveal patterns that remain hidden during constant activity. When you sit quietly and observe your thoughts, you may notice recurring worries, habitual judgments, or desires that influence your decisions. These patterns often operate automatically, shaping your behavior without conscious awareness. By allowing silence, you create a space where these mental tendencies can be seen clearly. This awareness does not immediately remove them, but it weakens their unconscious control. You begin to understand why you react in certain ways and how your beliefs have been formed over time. This understanding is the foundation of meaningful transformation. Another important aspect of silence is its role in emotional healing. Many people carry unresolved experiences that continue to affect their present life. They may suppress sadness, anger, or regret in order to maintain a sense of normalcy. Yet suppressed emotions rarely disappear. They manifest indirectly through stress, irritability, or dissatisfaction. Allowing silence gives these feelings an opportunity to be acknowledged and processed. When you sit with your emotions without judgment, you begin to experience them as temporary waves rather than permanent burdens. This gentle observation reduces their intensity and allows healing to occur naturally. Silence also enhances clarity of thought. In a noisy environment, the mind tends to react quickly and superficially. Decisions are often made under pressure or influenced by external opinions. When you cultivate moments of stillness, your thinking becomes more deliberate and insightful. You gain the ability to distinguish between impulses and genuine intentions. This clarity helps you act with purpose rather than confusion. Over time, your choices align more closely with your values because they are guided by awareness instead of distraction. Allowing silence to become a teacher does not require withdrawing completely from society or responsibilities. It involves integrating periods of quiet reflection into daily life. Even a few minutes of mindful breathing, walking in nature, or simply observing your surroundings can create a shift in mental state. These moments remind you that peace is not dependent on constant activity. They demonstrate that understanding can arise without force. Buddhist teachings emphasize that wisdom grows in stillness, just as a clear reflection appears on the surface of calm water. Another profound benefit of silence is the development of compassion. When you become familiar with your own inner struggles through quiet observation, you begin to recognize that others are also navigating complex emotions and uncertainties. This recognition softens harsh judgments and fosters empathy. You become more patient in interactions because you understand that reactions often come from unseen pain or confusion. Silence thus becomes a bridge between self-awareness and meaningful connection with others. The practice of allowing silence also transforms creativity. Many artistic and intellectual breakthroughs occur when the mind is not overloaded with information. In stillness, ideas have space to combine and evolve in unexpected ways. You may find solutions to problems that seemed impossible during periods of intense effort. This phenomenon is not accidental. It reflects the mind's natural capacity to reorganize itself when free from constant stimulation. By embracing silence, you encourage innovation and insight. During challenging phases of life, silence can provide stability. When circumstances are uncertain or overwhelming, external noise often increases anxiety. Quiet reflection helps you regain perspective. You can examine your fears more objectively and identify constructive steps forward. This balanced approach reduces impulsive reactions and strengthens resilience. Buddhist teachings suggest that silence allows you to hear the subtle guidance of intuition, which is often drowned out by stress and distraction. Over time, consistent engagement with silence leads to a deeper sense of identity. You begin to realize that beneath fluctuating thoughts and emotions, there is a stable awareness that observes all experiences. This realization reduces attachment to temporary states of mind. You understand that feelings of success or failure do not define your true nature. Instead, they become part of a larger journey of learning. This perspective fosters inner peace because it is not dependent on external validation or constant achievement. Allowing silence also reshapes your relationship with time. When the mind is constantly busy, life feels rushed and fragmented. In stillness, moments expand and become more vivid. You notice details that were previously overlooked, such as the rhythm of your breath or the subtle beauty of your surroundings. This heightened awareness enriches everyday experiences and reduces the sense of monotony. You start to value quality of presence over quantity of activity. It is important to acknowledge that cultivating silence requires patience. Habits of distraction may resurface, especially in environments that prioritize speed and stimulation. Buddhist teachings encourage gentle persistence rather than rigid discipline. Each return to stillness strengthens your capacity for mindfulness. Gradually, silence becomes less intimidating and more welcoming. You begin to see it as a companion rather than an absence. Ultimately, allowing silence to become your inner teacher reveals a profound truth about human existence. Much of what we seek externally, clarity, peace, understanding, already exists within the quiet depths of awareness. By creating space for stillness, you access this inner reservoir of wisdom. You learn to trust your capacity to navigate life with insight and compassion. This trust reduces fear, because you know that guidance can emerge from within, even when external circumstances are uncertain. In this way, silence transforms from something to be avoided into a source of strength. It becomes a practice that nurtures emotional balance, intellectual clarity, and spiritual growth. As you integrate silence into your daily routine, you may notice that your reactions become calmer, your decisions more thoughtful, and your relationships more authentic. Life itself feels less chaotic because you are grounded in a deeper understanding of your inner world. Allowing silence to teach you is not about escaping reality, but about engaging with it more consciously. It is about recognizing that true wisdom often speaks softly and can only be heard when the noise of distraction subsides. Through this practice, you cultivate a form of awareness that remains steady amidst change. This awareness becomes your guide, helping you move through life with confidence, humility, and a lasting sense of peace. 12. Allow imperfection to become your path to freedom. One of the deepest struggles many human beings carry throughout their lives is the silent belief that they must become perfect in order to feel worthy, safe, or fulfilled. From an early age, people are conditioned to improve constantly, to fix their flaws, to compete with others, and to present an ideal image to the world. This pursuit of perfection often begins with good intentions, such as the desire to grow or succeed. However, over time, it can transform into a heavy psychological burden. The mind starts to believe that mistakes are failures, weaknesses are unacceptable, and vulnerability must be hidden. This belief creates continuous pressure because perfection is not a destination that can ever be fully reached. Buddhist wisdom offers a liberating perspective on this issue. It teaches that imperfection is not a defect in the system of life, but a natural characteristic of existence. Everything that arises is subject to change, uncertainty, and limitation. When you allow imperfection instead of resisting it, you begin to experience a profound shift in how you relate to yourself and the world. This lesson is not about giving up on improvement, but about understanding that growth becomes healthier and more sustainable when it is rooted in acceptance rather than self-rejection. Many individuals spend years criticizing themselves for not meeting certain standards. They may feel inadequate because they compare their appearance, achievements, or emotional responses with idealized expectations. This self-criticism often leads to anxiety, procrastination, and a fear of taking risks. When the mind is focused on avoiding mistakes at all costs, it becomes rigid and hesitant. Opportunities for learning are missed because the person is more concerned with maintaining an image of competence than with exploring new possibilities. Allowing imperfection creates the opposite effect. It encourages curiosity and courage, enabling you to engage with life more openly. This principle can be understood by observing how learning occurs in everyday situations. A child who is learning to walk does not interpret falling as a sign of personal failure. Each attempt, whether successful or not, contributes to balance and coordination. Adults, however, often forget this natural process and expect themselves to perform flawlessly. Buddhist teachings remind us that mistakes are not obstacles to wisdom, but essential steps on the path toward it. When you allow yourself to be imperfect, you create a supportive internal environment where growth can unfold naturally. Another important aspect of allowing imperfection is its impact on emotional well-being. When you constantly strive to maintain a flawless image, you may hide your struggles from others and even from yourself. This suppression can lead to feelings of isolation because you believe that vulnerability will lead to rejection. Allowing imperfection means acknowledging your human limitations with compassion. It involves recognizing that everyone experiences uncertainty, fear, and disappointment at times. This awareness reduces the sense of loneliness and fosters authentic connections. When you are honest about your imperfections, relationships become more genuine because they are based on shared humanity rather than unrealistic expectations. Imperfection also plays a vital role in creativity and innovation. Many breakthroughs occur because individuals are willing to experiment, take risks, and learn from unsuccessful attempts. If perfection were required from the beginning, progress would be impossible. Allowing mistakes creates a flexible mindset that welcomes exploration. You begin to see challenges as opportunities to refine your understanding rather than as threats to your identity. This perspective encourages resilience because setbacks are interpreted as temporary and informative rather than permanent and defining. In the context of spiritual development, imperfection becomes a powerful teacher. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes that enlightenment is not achieved by eliminating all flaws instantly, but by cultivating awareness of how the mind reacts to them. When you observe your impatience, attachment, or fear without harsh judgment, you gain insight into their causes. This insight gradually weakens their influence. Allowing imperfection thus becomes a form of mindfulness practice, where each moment of difficulty is an invitation to deepen understanding. Over time, you develop greater equanimity, the ability to remain balanced amidst both success and failure. Allowing imperfection also transforms your relationship with time. Perfectionism often creates a sense of urgency because you feel pressured to reach an ideal state as quickly as possible. This urgency can lead to burnout and dissatisfaction. When you accept that growth is gradual and non-linear, you become more patient with yourself. You start to value consistency over intensity, recognizing that small, steady efforts produce lasting change. This patience reduces anxiety and fosters a more sustainable approach to personal development. Another dimension of this lesson is the cultivation of gratitude. When you stop focusing exclusively on what is lacking, you begin to appreciate what is already present. Imperfections, when viewed through a compassionate lens, reveal unique qualities and experiences that contribute to your individuality. They remind you that life is not meant to be a polished performance, but a dynamic journey of discovery. Gratitude shifts attention from comparison and dissatisfaction toward appreciation and contentment. This shift enhances emotional stability because it anchors happiness in awareness rather than in external validation. Allowing imperfection also encourages humility, which is essential for meaningful learning. When you acknowledge that you do not have all the answers, you become more open to guidance and collaboration. This openness strengthens relationships and expands opportunities for growth. Buddhist teachings highlight humility as a sign of wisdom, not weakness. It reflects an understanding that life is complex and that continuous learning is necessary. By embracing imperfection, you align with this understanding and cultivate a mindset that welcomes insight from diverse sources. During times of adversity, the acceptance of imperfection becomes especially valuable. Unexpected setbacks, losses, or changes can challenge your sense of competence and control. If your identity is built on the expectation of flawless performance, such events may feel devastating. Allowing imperfection helps you reinterpret adversity as part of the human experience. Instead of viewing difficulties as personal failures, you recognize them as conditions that can strengthen resilience and deepen empathy. This perspective fosters inner strength because it is grounded in realism rather than idealism. As you continue practicing this lesson, a subtle but powerful transformation occurs. You begin to treat yourself with the same kindness you might offer a friend. Self-compassion replaces harsh self-judgment, and this compassion becomes a source of motivation rather than complacency. You strive to improve not because you feel inadequate, but because you value growth. This shift makes your efforts more joyful and meaningful. Achievements feel satisfying because they are expressions of dedication, not proofs of worthiness. Allowing imperfection also enhances mindfulness in daily activities. You become more attentive to the process rather than fixated on flawless outcomes. Whether you are working, communicating, or pursuing a creative endeavor, you engage with curiosity and presence. This engagement enriches experiences and reduces stress because you are not constantly evaluating yourself against unrealistic standards. Life becomes less about reaching an end point and more about participating fully in each moment. Ultimately, this lesson reveals a profound truth about freedom. The pursuit of perfection often binds the mind with fear and comparison, while the acceptance of imperfection opens the door to authenticity and peace. When you allow yourself to be human, you create space for genuine self-expression and meaningful connection. You realize that true strength lies not in eliminating flaws, but in understanding and integrating them. This understanding leads to a balanced life, where ambition coexists with compassion and effort coexists with acceptance. By allowing imperfection to guide your path, you align with the natural rhythms of growth and change. You become more resilient because you are not shattered by mistakes. You become more creative because you are not constrained by fear of failure. You become more compassionate because you recognize the shared vulnerabilities that connect all people. In this way, imperfection transforms from a perceived weakness into a profound source of wisdom and liberation. As you integrate this perspective into your daily life, you may notice that your mind becomes lighter and more flexible. You approach challenges with curiosity rather than dread. You celebrate progress without demanding perfection. Gradually, a deep sense of inner freedom emerges, rooted in the understanding that your worth is not defined by flawless performance, but by conscious awareness and heartfelt effort. This freedom allows you to live with authenticity, courage, and a lasting sense of peace. 13. Allow pain to become your greatest awakening. One of the most misunderstood aspects of human life is the role of pain. Most people see pain only as something negative, something to escape, suppress, or forget as quickly as possible. Whether it is emotional pain from rejection, disappointment, loss, or physical pain from hardship and struggle, the immediate reaction of the mind is resistance. This resistance is natural because the mind is conditioned to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches a powerful and transformative truth. Pain, when understood with awareness, can become one of the greatest sources of awakening and inner strength. Many individuals spend years running away from painful experiences. They distract themselves with constant activity, entertainment, or unhealthy coping mechanisms just to avoid feeling uncomfortable emotions. While these strategies may provide temporary relief, they often prevent genuine healing. Unprocessed pain does not disappear. It remains hidden in the subconscious and continues to influence thoughts, reactions, and relationships. Allowing pain means giving yourself the courage to face these experiences without denial. It means recognizing that discomfort is not always an enemy, but sometimes a messenger guiding you toward deeper understanding. Buddhist teachings emphasize that suffering arises not only from pain itself, but from the mental resistance we create around it. When something difficult happens, the mind often adds layers of fear, anger, or self-blame. This mental struggle intensifies the original experience and prolongs its impact. Allowing pain involves observing it without judgment and without immediately labeling it as unfair or unbearable. This shift in perspective reduces the emotional burden and creates space for insight. You begin to ask meaningful questions such as, "What is this experience teaching me?" or "How can this challenge help me grow?" These questions transform pain from a source of despair into a pathway of awareness. Pain has a unique ability to reveal hidden aspects of the self. During comfortable periods, it is easy to overlook unresolved insecurities or unhealthy patterns. Difficult experiences, however, bring these issues to the surface. For example, rejection may expose a deep need for validation, while failure may highlight fear of inadequacy. Allowing pain means acknowledging these revelations with honesty rather than defensiveness. This honesty is the first step toward transformation. When you understand the roots of your reactions, you gain the power to change them consciously. Another profound aspect of allowing pain is the development of resilience. Each time you face hardship with awareness instead of avoidance, you strengthen your capacity to handle future challenges. Resilience does not mean becoming insensitive or indifferent. It means learning to navigate difficulties without losing your inner balance. Buddhist wisdom suggests that resilience grows from acceptance. By recognizing that pain is an inevitable part of life's impermanent nature, you reduce the shock and fear associated with it. You begin to trust your ability to endure and adapt. Pain also deepens compassion. When you have experienced suffering and processed it mindfully, you become more sensitive to the struggles of others. This empathy fosters meaningful connections because you can relate to people beyond superficial interactions. Instead of judging or dismissing their difficulties, you listen with understanding. Compassion thus becomes a natural outcome of personal awakening. It reminds you that all human beings share vulnerability and that kindness is a powerful response to collective challenges. Allowing pain encourages introspection, which is essential for spiritual growth. In moments of hardship, you may question your priorities, beliefs, and direction in life. While these questions can feel unsettling, they often lead to clarity. You may discover that certain pursuits were driven by external expectations rather than authentic purpose. Pain can act as a catalyst that redirects your energy toward more meaningful goals. Buddhist teachings describe this process as awakening from illusion, recognizing the transient nature of worldly attachments and the importance of inner development. The practice of mindfulness plays a central role in transforming pain. By focusing on the present moment, you observe sensations and emotions as temporary experiences rather than permanent conditions. This observation reduces the tendency to catastrophize or identify completely with suffering. You learn that feelings arise, change, and eventually fade. This insight creates a sense of freedom because it shows that pain does not define your identity. Instead, it becomes part of a dynamic process of learning and growth. Allowing pain also changes your relationship with control. Many people believe that happiness depends on preventing all negative experiences. When pain inevitably occurs, they feel powerless or betrayed by life. Buddhist wisdom suggests that true empowerment lies not in eliminating pain, but in changing how you respond to it. By accepting that challenges are part of existence, you release unrealistic expectations and cultivate adaptability. This adaptability brings peace because you are no longer constantly fighting reality. Another important dimension of this lesson is the cultivation of gratitude. Paradoxically, painful experiences often lead to a deeper appreciation of life's simple joys. After overcoming hardship, you may value relationships, health, or personal achievements more intensely. Gratitude shifts focus from what is lacking to what is present, fostering emotional stability. It reminds you that even difficult phases contribute to your evolution and that every experience has potential meaning. Allowing pain also enhances creativity and insight. Many artists, thinkers, and spiritual practitioners have transformed personal suffering into expressions of wisdom and beauty. When you process pain constructively, you gain perspectives that enrich your understanding of the human condition. These perspectives can inspire solutions, innovations, and acts of kindness that benefit others. Pain thus becomes a source of contribution rather than isolation. It is important to note that allowing pain does not mean seeking suffering or tolerating harmful situations unnecessarily. Buddhist teachings emphasize balance and wise action. When challenges arise, you can take practical steps to improve circumstances while maintaining awareness of your emotional responses. Allowing refers to the internal acceptance of experience, not passive submission to injustice. This distinction ensures that growth occurs alongside self-care and responsibility. Over time, the consistent practice of allowing pain leads to a profound inner transformation. You develop confidence in your ability to face life's uncertainties without losing hope. You recognize that every difficulty carries the potential for insight. This recognition reduces fear because you trust the process of change. Instead of viewing pain as an interruption, you see it as an integral part of your journey toward wisdom. Ultimately, this lesson reveals a deeper truth about awakening. Life's challenges are not random punishments, but opportunities to refine awareness and compassion. When you allow pain to teach you, you align with a path of authenticity and resilience. You discover that strength is not the absence of suffering, but the capacity to transform it into understanding. This understanding leads to inner peace because it is grounded in acceptance of life's impermanent nature. By embracing pain as a guide rather than an enemy, you cultivate a mindset that is both courageous and compassionate. You engage with life more fully, appreciating its complexities and contradictions. Each experience, whether joyful or difficult, becomes a stepping stone toward greater clarity. In this way, pain evolves from a source of fear into a powerful awakening that deepens your connection with yourself and the world around you. 14. Allow detachment to become your deepest strength. One of the most misunderstood teachings in Buddhist philosophy is the idea of detachment. Many people hear the word and immediately assume it means becoming cold, distant, or emotionally disconnected from life. They imagine detachment as a form of indifference, where a person stops caring about relationships, goals, or experiences. In reality, Buddhist wisdom presents detachment in a very different and deeply empowering way. True detachment is not about withdrawing from life, but about engaging with life without being psychologically controlled by it. Allowing detachment to grow within you means developing the ability to experience love, ambition, and joy without becoming trapped by fear of loss or excessive attachment. Human beings naturally form attachments because attachment provides a sense of security. We become attached to people, achievements, identities, and expectations. These attachments can bring comfort and motivation, but they can also create suffering when we begin to believe that our happiness depends entirely on their permanence. Life is constantly changing. Relationships evolve, opportunities shift, and circumstances move in unpredictable directions. When the mind resists this impermanence, anxiety and emotional instability arise. Allowing detachment means accepting the truth that nothing in life can be fully controlled or possessed. This acceptance does not reduce love or passion. Instead, it purifies them by removing fear and desperation. Many individuals struggle with attachment because they equate it with commitment. They believe that caring deeply requires clinging tightly. However, Buddhist teachings suggest that true commitment is strengthened by inner freedom. When you are detached in a healthy way, you support others without trying to control them. You pursue goals with dedication, but remain resilient if outcomes differ from expectations. This balance creates a stable emotional foundation because your sense of self is not entirely dependent on external conditions. Allowing detachment is therefore a practice of strengthening inner independence while remaining open to meaningful connections. Detachment also transforms how you respond to success and failure. Without awareness, success can inflate pride and create fear of losing status, while failure can lead to self-doubt and discouragement. When you cultivate detachment, you begin to see both success and failure as temporary experiences rather than permanent definitions of your worth. This perspective reduces emotional extremes and encourages steady progress. You continue to learn and grow without being overwhelmed by fluctuations in circumstance. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes equanimity, the ability to remain balanced amidst changing conditions, as a key outcome of detachment. Another profound aspect of detachment is its role in reducing fear. Much of human anxiety arises from the anticipation of loss. People fear losing relationships, financial security, reputation, or health. While it is natural to care about these aspects of life, excessive fear can limit freedom and joy. Allowing detachment helps you recognize that while loss is inevitable, suffering is intensified by clinging. By accepting impermanence, you become more capable of appreciating what you have in the present moment. Gratitude replaces constant worry, and your experiences become richer because they are not overshadowed by fear of their ending. Detachment also encourages authenticity. When you are overly attached to approval or social image, you may alter your behavior to fit expectations. This can lead to internal conflict because your actions are guided by fear rather than truth. Allowing detachment means valuing honesty with yourself and others. You become more comfortable expressing your genuine thoughts and emotions because your identity is not built solely on external validation. This authenticity strengthens relationships as people sense your sincerity and confidence. It also enhances personal fulfillment because you are living in alignment with your inner values. The practice of detachment requires mindfulness and patience. It is not an instant transformation, but a gradual shift in perception. You may begin by observing how attachment influences your reactions. Notice moments when you feel intense anxiety about outcomes or excessive need for reassurance. Instead of judging these feelings, allow them to be seen clearly. This awareness weakens their unconscious control. Over time, you develop the ability to pause before reacting, creating space for wiser responses. Buddhist meditation practices often support this process by training the mind to observe thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. Detachment also enhances resilience during challenging periods. When unexpected changes occur, individuals who are strongly attached may feel overwhelmed or powerless. Those who have cultivated detachment are more adaptable because they understand that life's conditions are temporary. This adaptability does not eliminate pain, but it prevents despair from dominating the mind. You learn to navigate difficulties with calm determination, trusting that new opportunities and insights will arise. This trust becomes a source of inner strength that cannot be easily shaken. Another important benefit of detachment is clarity in decision-making. When you are excessively attached to a particular outcome, your judgment may become clouded by emotional bias. Allowing detachment helps you evaluate situations more objectively. You consider multiple possibilities and choose actions based on wisdom rather than fear or desire alone. This balanced approach leads to more effective and thoughtful decisions, benefiting both personal and professional aspects of life. Detachment also deepens spiritual awareness. Buddhist teachings highlight that clinging to transient experiences obscures the understanding of deeper reality. By allowing detachment, you gradually recognize that identity, possessions, and achievements are part of an ever-changing process. This realization fosters humility and interconnectedness. You begin to see yourself not as an isolated entity, but as part of a larger flow of existence. Compassion arises naturally because you understand that others are also navigating impermanence and attachment. It is essential to distinguish healthy detachment from avoidance. Detachment does not mean ignoring responsibilities or suppressing emotions. Instead, it involves engaging fully while maintaining perspective. You still care about relationships and goals, but you do not let them define your entire sense of self. This balanced involvement allows you to experience life's richness without being trapped by fear of change. Buddhist wisdom encourages this middle path, where awareness guides action and attachment is replaced by understanding. Allowing detachment also cultivates inner peace. When the mind is not constantly grasping or resisting, it becomes more relaxed and spacious. This relaxation enhances concentration and emotional stability. You find it easier to focus on meaningful activities because your energy is not scattered by worry or comparison. Over time, peace becomes a natural state rather than a fleeting experience dependent on favorable conditions. Another transformative aspect of detachment is its impact on generosity. When you are not overly attached to possessions or recognition, you feel more inclined to share resources and support others. This generosity strengthens community and personal fulfillment. Buddhist teachings describe giving as a way to reduce attachment and foster joy. By allowing detachment, you experience the satisfaction of contributing without expecting specific rewards. Ultimately, allowing detachment to become your deepest strength reveals a profound truth about freedom. True freedom is not found in possessing more or controlling every outcome, but in cultivating a mind that remains balanced amidst change. When you release excessive clinging, you open yourself to life's possibilities with courage and curiosity. Challenges become opportunities for growth, and relationships become expressions of genuine connection rather than sources of dependency. As you continue practicing detachment, you may notice a subtle yet powerful shift in how you experience existence. Moments of happiness feel more vibrant because they are appreciated without fear. Difficulties feel more manageable because they are seen as temporary. Your identity becomes more flexible, allowing continuous learning and adaptation. This flexibility is a hallmark of wisdom, reflecting an understanding that life is a dynamic process rather than a fixed structure. In this way, detachment evolves from a misunderstood concept into a guiding principle for living with awareness and strength. By allowing it to shape your perspective, you develop resilience, authenticity, and compassion. You engage with the world wholeheartedly while remaining grounded in inner stability. This balance creates a lasting sense of peace that is not dependent on circumstances but rooted in the clarity of understanding impermanence. 15. Allow life to unfold without forcing your worth. One of the quiet struggles many people carry within themselves is the belief that they must constantly prove their worth in order to feel safe, respected, or loved. From early experiences in school, family, or society, individuals learn to associate value with performance, recognition, and achievement. Over time, this belief becomes deeply rooted, shaping how they approach relationships, career goals, and personal growth. They feel an invisible pressure to demonstrate success, to appear strong even when they feel vulnerable, and to constantly validate their place in the world. Buddhist wisdom offers a profound insight into this struggle, teaching that true worth does not need to be forced or continuously proven. Allowing life to unfold without this pressure opens the door to genuine peace and self-understanding. Many individuals become trapped in cycles of overexertion because they believe that rest or uncertainty might make them seem inadequate. They take on excessive responsibilities, compare themselves with others, and push themselves beyond healthy limits in the pursuit of validation. While such effort may bring temporary rewards, it often leads to emotional exhaustion and a persistent sense of dissatisfaction. The mind becomes conditioned to equate busyness with value and external approval with self-respect. Allowing this lesson to guide you means questioning these assumptions and recognizing that worth is not something you earn through constant struggle. Instead, it is something inherent that can be acknowledged through awareness and self-compassion. This perspective does not encourage complacency or lack of ambition. Rather, it encourages a healthier relationship with achievement. When you stop forcing your worth through every action, you create space for motivation that is rooted in curiosity and purpose, rather than fear. You begin to pursue goals because they resonate with your values, not because they are required for acceptance. This shift transforms effort into a more balanced and sustainable process. Success becomes meaningful because it is an expression of authenticity rather than a desperate attempt to secure approval. Allowing life to unfold without forcing your worth also changes how you respond to setbacks. When identity is tied exclusively to outcomes, failure can feel devastating. A missed opportunity or criticism may trigger intense self-doubt, as if your entire value has been questioned. Buddhist teachings remind us that such reactions arise from attachment to fixed ideas about self-worth. By allowing impermanence and uncertainty to exist, you begin to see setbacks as temporary conditions rather than personal verdicts. This understanding fosters resilience. You learn to adapt, reflect, and continue moving forward without being paralyzed by fear of judgment. Another significant aspect of this lesson is its influence on relationships. When individuals feel compelled to prove their worth, they may seek validation through pleasing others or competing for recognition. This can create tension and insecurity as interactions become transactional rather than genuine. Allowing your worth to exist independently of constant approval encourages authenticity in communication. You express thoughts and emotions honestly, without excessive concern about how they will be perceived. This honesty strengthens trust and deepens connections, as people respond to sincerity more readily than to performance. The practice of mindfulness plays an important role in cultivating this mindset. By observing your thoughts and motivations, you can identify moments when the urge to prove yourself arises. Instead of reacting automatically, you allow these impulses to be seen with clarity. This awareness reduces their intensity and helps you choose actions that align with inner values. Over time, mindfulness transforms the relationship with self-worth from one of pressure to one of understanding. You realize that value is not dependent on constant achievement, but on the presence of awareness and integrity. Allowing life to unfold without forcing your worth also enhances creativity and innovation. When the mind is not burdened by the fear of evaluation, it becomes more open to exploration and experimentation. You feel freer to take risks and learn from mistakes because your identity is not threatened by imperfect results. Many meaningful contributions to society have emerged from individuals who embraced this freedom. They focused on discovery and expression rather than on maintaining an image of perfection. This lesson encourages you to adopt a similar approach, viewing growth as a journey rather than a performance. Another profound benefit is the cultivation of inner peace. When you release the constant need to justify your existence through productivity or recognition, mental tension decreases. You begin to appreciate moments of stillness and reflection, recognizing that worth is not measured solely by activity. This appreciation fosters gratitude for simple experiences, such as meaningful conversations or quiet achievements. Life feels less like a race and more like a continuous unfolding of opportunities for learning and connection. Allowing this lesson also strengthens emotional independence. When worth is internally grounded, external fluctuations have less power to destabilize your mood. Praise becomes encouraging but not addictive, and criticism becomes informative rather than destructive. This balance enables you to navigate complex environments with confidence and humility. Buddhist wisdom describes this state as equanimity, a stable awareness that remains centered amidst changing circumstances. By cultivating equanimity, you protect your peace while remaining engaged with the world. The concept of interdependence further supports this perspective. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes that individual achievements are influenced by countless factors, including support from others and favorable conditions. Recognizing this interconnectedness reduces the pressure to attribute worth solely to personal effort. You begin to see success as a shared process and develop gratitude for contributions that make growth possible. This understanding encourages collaboration and compassion, enriching both personal and collective experiences. Allowing life to unfold naturally also deepens spiritual awareness. When you stop striving to define yourself exclusively through roles or accomplishments, you become more receptive to introspection. You explore questions about purpose, values, and the nature of happiness. These reflections lead to insights that transcend temporary achievements. You discover that lasting fulfillment arises from alignment with inner truth rather than from external validation. This realization can inspire a more mindful and purposeful approach to living. Over time, practicing this lesson leads to a transformation in how you perceive challenges. Instead of viewing obstacles as threats to your worth, you interpret them as opportunities to develop patience and wisdom. This perspective reduces fear and encourages perseverance. You understand that growth often involves uncertainty, and that worth is not diminished by temporary difficulties. This resilience supports long-term well-being and enables you to contribute positively to your environment. Allowing life to unfold without forcing your worth ultimately reveals a deeper truth about freedom. True freedom arises when you no longer feel compelled to justify your existence through constant performance. You engage with goals, relationships, and experiences wholeheartedly, but your peace does not depend on their outcomes. This balance fosters authenticity and compassion, as you are able to support others without competing for validation. Life becomes a space for expression rather than a test of adequacy. As this understanding matures, you may notice that your actions become more intentional and aligned with meaningful values. You choose paths that resonate with your genuine interests, even if they differ from societal expectations. This authenticity attracts opportunities and connections that support personal growth. Instead of chasing approval, you cultivate purpose. Instead of fearing judgment, you embrace learning. In this way, allowing life to unfold naturally becomes a foundation for sustainable success and inner harmony. Ultimately, this lesson teaches that worth is not something to be forced into existence, but something to be recognized through awareness. By releasing the pressure to constantly prove yourself, you create space for creativity, compassion, and resilience. You participate fully in life while remaining grounded in a sense of inherent value. This grounding allows you to navigate uncertainty with confidence and humility, knowing that your worth is not defined by fleeting achievements, but by the depth of understanding you bring to each experience. 16. Allow patience to shape your destiny. In a fast-moving world where people are constantly encouraged to achieve more in less time, patience has become a rare and often misunderstood quality. Many individuals feel pressured to see immediate results from their efforts, whether in career, relationships, personal growth, or spiritual practice. When progress appears slow or invisible, frustration begins to build. The mind starts comparing its timeline with the achievements of others, leading to self-doubt and restlessness. Buddhist wisdom offers a deeply transformative perspective on this struggle. It teaches that patience is not passive waiting or lack of ambition, but an active and powerful state of trust in the natural unfolding of life. Allowing patience to shape your destiny means understanding that meaningful growth often requires time, consistency, and inner stability. Human beings tend to associate speed with success. Society celebrates rapid achievements and visible milestones, creating the impression that value is measured by how quickly goals are accomplished. This mindset can lead to impulsive decisions and emotional exhaustion. When you rush through experiences, you may achieve short-term outcomes, but you risk missing deeper understanding and long-term fulfillment. Allowing patience introduces a different rhythm. It encourages you to focus on steady progress rather than instant gratification. This shift reduces anxiety because you are no longer measuring your worth against unrealistic timelines. Patience also changes how you respond to uncertainty. When results are delayed, the mind often imagines negative outcomes. Fear of failure or rejection may intensify, leading to hesitation or avoidance. Buddhist teachings suggest that patience is closely linked with faith in the process of cause and effect. Every action creates conditions that influence future experiences. While outcomes cannot always be predicted, consistent effort guided by awareness increases the likelihood of positive transformation. Allowing patience means trusting this principle without demanding immediate confirmation. Another important aspect of patience is its role in emotional regulation. During challenging situations, impulsive reactions can escalate conflict and regret. When you cultivate patience, you develop the ability to pause before responding. This pause creates space for reflection and wiser choices. Over time, your interactions become more balanced and constructive. Relationships benefit because communication is guided by understanding rather than by momentary frustration. Buddhist wisdom describes this quality as mindful restraint, a skill that protects inner peace and fosters harmony. Patience also supports resilience in the face of setbacks. Life rarely unfolds according to precise plans. Unexpected obstacles may delay progress or require changes in direction. Individuals who lack patience may interpret these challenges as signs of personal inadequacy. Allowing patience helps you reinterpret difficulties as part of a larger journey. You learn to adapt strategies without losing motivation. This adaptability strengthens confidence because it demonstrates that growth is possible even when circumstances are uncertain. In the realm of personal development, patience is essential for cultivating lasting habits. Many people begin new practices with enthusiasm but abandon them when immediate results are not visible. Whether learning a skill, improving health, or deepening spiritual awareness, transformation occurs gradually. Allowing patience means recognizing the value of small, consistent efforts. Each step contributes to a cumulative effect that becomes apparent over time. This understanding reduces the temptation to compare your progress with others and encourages focus on your unique path. Nature provides powerful examples of patience shaping destiny. Trees do not grow overnight, and rivers carve landscapes through persistent flow rather than sudden force. These processes illustrate that strength often emerges from continuity rather than speed. By aligning your mindset with this natural rhythm, you reduce internal conflict. You begin to appreciate that meaningful achievements require both dedication and time. Buddhist teachings often use such metaphors to remind practitioners that wisdom develops through sustained practice rather than instant revelation. Patience also enhances clarity of purpose. When you are not rushing to achieve external validation, you can reflect more deeply on what truly matters. This reflection helps distinguish between goals driven by genuine passion and those influenced by societal pressure. Allowing patience creates an environment where introspection becomes possible. You learn to listen to your inner voice and align actions with long-term value. This alignment increases satisfaction because success becomes an expression of authenticity rather than conformity. Another transformative aspect of patience is its relationship with compassion. When you accept that growth takes time for yourself, you become more understanding toward others. You recognize that people are navigating their own journeys, facing unseen challenges, and learning at different paces. This awareness reduces harsh judgments and fosters empathy. Compassionate patience strengthens communities by encouraging support and cooperation rather than competition. Allowing patience also reshapes your perception of failure. Instead of viewing mistakes as permanent setbacks, you begin to see them as temporary phases within a continuous process of learning. This perspective encourages perseverance. You remain committed to improvement even when progress feels slow. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes that persistence guided by awareness eventually leads to insight. Each experience, whether successful or not, contributes to deeper understanding. In spiritual practice, patience is considered a foundational virtue. Meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living require consistent effort over extended periods. Immediate enlightenment is not the goal. Gradual awakening is the natural outcome of sustained attention. Allowing patience means embracing this gradual path without frustration. You learn to value subtle shifts in awareness, recognizing that profound transformation often begins quietly. Patience also protects mental well-being by reducing the pressure to control outcomes. When you demand instant results, you create unrealistic expectations that lead to disappointment. Allowing patience encourages acceptance of uncertainty while maintaining commitment to purposeful action. This balance fosters peace because it acknowledges both effort and impermanence. You understand that while you can influence conditions, you cannot dictate every detail of the future. Over time, patience becomes a source of confidence. You develop trust in your ability to navigate life's fluctuations without losing direction. This trust is not based on rigid certainty, but on the understanding that consistent awareness and effort lead to growth. Buddhist teachings describe this state as inner stability, a calm assurance that remains steady amidst change. Allowing patience to shape your destiny ultimately reveals a profound truth about fulfillment. True success is not measured solely by speed or external recognition, but by the depth of understanding gained through experience. When you cultivate patience, you engage more fully with each stage of your journey. You celebrate progress without clinging to outcomes and learn from challenges without losing hope. As this lesson integrates into your life, you may notice that your actions become more deliberate and meaningful. Decisions are guided by reflection rather than urgency. Relationships deepen because interactions are grounded in presence rather than impatience. Creativity flourishes because you allow ideas to evolve naturally. This transformation creates a balanced approach to ambition, where effort coexists with acceptance. Ultimately, allowing patience to shape your destiny empowers you to live with wisdom and resilience. You move forward with steady determination, trusting that growth unfolds at its own pace. This trust reduces fear of being left behind and replaces comparison with appreciation for your unique path. In this way, patience becomes not a limitation, but a powerful ally that guides you toward lasting peace, purpose, and inner strength. 17. Allow the present moment to become your true home. One of the deepest sources of human restlessness is the habit of living everywhere except in the present moment. The mind continuously travels between memories of the past and imaginations of the future. It replays old conversations, regrets missed opportunities, and anticipates outcomes that have not yet occurred. While reflection and planning have their place, excessive attachment to past and future creates a subtle but constant dissatisfaction. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true peace is discovered not by escaping life's circumstances, but by learning to inhabit the present moment fully. Allowing the present moment to become your true home means shifting your awareness from mental projections to direct experience. Many individuals believe that happiness exists somewhere ahead of them. They think peace will arrive after achieving a certain goal, earning recognition, or resolving every problem. This belief leads to a life of postponement, where fulfillment is always tied to the next milestone. As a result, the present feels like a temporary waiting room rather than a meaningful space. Buddhist teachings reveal a powerful insight. Life unfolds only in the present. The past exists as memory and the future as possibility, but your ability to act, learn, and experience resides in this moment. Allowing this realization to guide you transforms everyday existence into an opportunity for awareness and growth. Living in the present does not mean ignoring responsibilities or abandoning long-term vision. Instead, it involves engaging with current tasks and relationships with full attention. When you are present, even simple actions such as listening, working, or walking become rich with meaning. The mind is no longer divided between multiple timelines. This unity of attention reduces anxiety because energy is not scattered by constant worry. Buddhist mindfulness practices emphasize this quality of focused awareness as a foundation for inner peace. One reason people struggle to remain present is fear of unresolved emotions. When attention turns inward, discomfort may arise from past experiences or uncertainty about the future. To avoid this discomfort, the mind seeks distraction. Allowing the present moment requires courage to face these feelings without judgment. By observing them gently, you begin to understand their transient nature. Emotions appear, change, and fade like clouds in the sky. This observation weakens the illusion that they define your identity or determine your destiny. The present moment also offers clarity that is often absent when the mind is preoccupied. Decisions made with full awareness tend to be more thoughtful and aligned with personal values. When you are attentive, you notice subtle details in situations and relationships that might otherwise be overlooked. This heightened perception improves communication and problem-solving. Buddhist wisdom suggests that wisdom arises from direct observation rather than from abstract speculation. Allowing presence creates the conditions for this wisdom to emerge naturally. Another transformative aspect of living in the present is its impact on gratitude. When attention is anchored in immediate experience, you become more aware of small yet meaningful aspects of life. The warmth of sunlight, the sound of conversation, or the satisfaction of completing a task can evoke genuine appreciation. This appreciation counters the tendency to focus solely on what is lacking. Gratitude nurtures emotional balance and strengthens resilience because it highlights the abundance that already exists. Allowing the present moment to become your home also changes your relationship with time. Many individuals feel as though time is always running out, creating urgency and pressure. This perception often stems from constant comparison and unrealistic expectations. When you focus on what is happening now, time feels less threatening. You recognize that progress occurs through a series of present actions, rather than through distant promises. This understanding encourages patience and steady effort, reducing the fear of falling behind. The practice of presence enhances relationships by fostering genuine connection. When you listen attentively without planning your response or judging the other person, communication becomes more authentic. People feel valued because they are truly heard. This quality of interaction builds trust and mutual respect. Buddhist teachings emphasize compassion as an extension of mindful awareness. By being present, you naturally respond to others with empathy rather than distraction. Presence also supports creativity and innovation. When the mind is fully engaged with current experience, it becomes more receptive to new ideas. Distractions diminish, allowing insights to surface. Many creative breakthroughs occur during moments of deep concentration or relaxed awareness. Allowing the present moment creates the mental clarity necessary for such discoveries. This clarity benefits both personal expression and professional endeavors. Another important benefit is emotional stability. When attention is anchored in the present, worries about hypothetical scenarios lose intensity. You learn to differentiate between actual challenges and imagined threats. This distinction prevents unnecessary stress and promotes constructive action. Buddhist wisdom teaches that suffering often arises from attachment to mental projections. By returning to present awareness, you reduce the power of these projections and cultivate equanimity. Allowing presence also deepens spiritual understanding. Buddhist philosophy describes enlightenment as awakening to the true nature of experience. This awakening is not achieved by intellectual analysis alone, but by direct engagement with reality as it unfolds. When you observe sensations, thoughts, and emotions without clinging or resistance, you gain insight into impermanence and interconnectedness. This insight fosters humility and compassion, guiding ethical choices and meaningful relationships. It is important to recognize that cultivating presence is an ongoing practice. The mind may wander frequently, especially in a world filled with constant stimulation. Each time you notice this wandering and gently return to the present, you strengthen awareness. Buddhist meditation techniques often focus on the breath or bodily sensations as anchors for attention. These simple practices train the mind to remain grounded even amidst external distractions. Over time, allowing the present moment to become your home leads to a profound shift in perspective. Life no longer feels like a race toward an uncertain future or a struggle to escape the past. Instead, it becomes a continuous unfolding of experiences that offer opportunities for learning and connection. This perspective reduces fear because you trust your ability to respond wisely to whatever arises. Presence also encourages authenticity. When you are attentive to your inner state, you recognize genuine desires and values more clearly. Decisions are guided by awareness rather than by automatic habits or external pressures. This alignment enhances fulfillment because actions reflect who you truly are. Buddhist wisdom describes this harmony as living in accordance with Dharma, the natural order of truth and integrity. Ultimately, allowing the present moment to become your true home reveals that peace is not something to be chased, but something to be realized. By grounding yourself in immediate experience, you access a source of stability that remains available regardless of changing circumstances. Challenges still occur and goals still matter, but your sense of well-being is no longer dependent on distant outcomes. As this lesson integrates into daily life, you may notice subtle yet powerful changes. Anxiety decreases, focus improves, and relationships deepen. You become more resilient because you engage with reality directly rather than through layers of anticipation or regret. The present moment transforms from a fleeting instant into a foundation for wisdom and compassion. In this way, presence becomes both a refuge and a guide. It reminds you that life's richness is not hidden in future achievements or past memories, but revealed through attentive awareness of what is happening now. By allowing this awareness to shape your perspective, you cultivate a balanced, meaningful existence rooted in clarity, gratitude, and inner peace. 18. Allow simplicity to reveal life's deepest joy. In a world that constantly encourages accumulation, competition, and endless stimulation, simplicity often appears to be an outdated or unrealistic ideal. Many individuals believe that happiness depends on achieving more, owning more, and experiencing more than others. This mindset creates a continuous cycle of striving that rarely leads to lasting fulfillment. Buddhist wisdom offers a radically different perspective. It teaches that true joy does not arise from complexity or excess, but from the ability to appreciate life in its simplest and most authentic form. Allowing simplicity to reveal life's deepest joy means gradually releasing unnecessary mental and material burdens so that clarity and contentment can naturally emerge. Human beings are naturally inclined to seek comfort and security, but over time this desire can transform into attachment to possessions, status, and external validation. The mind begins to associate self-worth with what it accumulates rather than with what it understands. As responsibilities and expectations increase, life may start to feel overwhelming. People juggle multiple commitments, compare themselves with others, and feel pressure to maintain appearances. This constant pursuit of more can create inner emptiness because the mind becomes disconnected from present experience. Buddhist teachings emphasize that simplicity is not about deprivation, but about conscious choice. It is the art of recognizing what truly adds value and letting go of what creates unnecessary distraction. Allowing simplicity begins with awareness of mental clutter. Thoughts about past regrets, future worries, and social comparisons often consume attention. These mental patterns drain emotional energy and prevent clear perception. By observing them without judgment, you start to realize that many worries are habitual rather than essential. Simplifying the mind involves focusing on what is immediately relevant and meaningful. This shift reduces anxiety because you are no longer overwhelmed by countless imagined scenarios. Instead, you engage with life one moment at a time, discovering peace in focused awareness. Another dimension of simplicity involves the relationship with material possessions. While basic needs and comforts are important, excessive attachment to objects can create dependency. The more you accumulate, the more you may fear loss or feel obligated to maintain a certain lifestyle. Allowing simplicity encourages a balanced approach. You appreciate what you have without allowing possessions to define your identity. This perspective fosters gratitude and reduces the constant pressure to acquire more. Buddhist philosophy often highlights the freedom that comes from reducing unnecessary desires, suggesting that contentment arises when you value sufficiency over excess. Simplicity also transforms how you approach goals and ambitions. In complex environments, individuals may pursue multiple objectives simultaneously, leading to fragmentation of focus. When you allow simplicity, you prioritize what aligns with your core values. This clarity enhances effectiveness because energy is directed toward meaningful pursuits rather than scattered across competing demands. Success becomes a byproduct of purposeful action rather than a desperate attempt to meet external expectations. Buddhist teachings describe this alignment as right intention, a guiding principle that integrates wisdom and ethical awareness. Relationships benefit significantly from a simplified approach to life. When individuals are consumed by busyness and comparison, interactions may become superficial. Allowing simplicity creates space for genuine presence in communication. You listen more attentively, express yourself more honestly, and appreciate shared experiences without distraction. This depth strengthens emotional bonds and fosters mutual understanding. Compassion grows naturally when you are not preoccupied with maintaining status or defending ego. Another powerful aspect of simplicity is its influence on emotional well-being. Complex lifestyles often lead to chronic stress because the mind is constantly managing expectations and responsibilities. By simplifying routines and commitments, you create opportunities for rest and reflection. This balance supports mental clarity and resilience. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes moderation as a path to harmony. It encourages individuals to avoid extremes of indulgence or deprivation, cultivating a steady rhythm that nurtures both physical and emotional health. Allowing simplicity also enhances creativity and insight. When the mind is not overloaded with information and obligations, it becomes more receptive to subtle inspirations. Quiet moments, such as walking in nature or practicing meditation, allow ideas to emerge organically. Many profound realizations occur during periods of stillness rather than during intense activity. Buddhist practitioners often describe simplicity as a gateway to deeper awareness because it removes barriers that obscure perception. Another important benefit is the cultivation of humility. Simplicity reminds you that fulfillment does not depend on constant recognition or superiority. You begin to value inner qualities such as kindness, patience, and honesty more than external achievements. This shift fosters equality and respect in interactions, as you recognize the shared humanity that connects all individuals. Buddhist teachings often highlight humility as a foundation for wisdom, suggesting that true understanding arises when ego-driven pursuits are reduced. Simplicity also reshapes your relationship with time. Instead of rushing through experiences in pursuit of future rewards, you learn to savor the present. Activities such as preparing a meal, reading, or spending time with loved ones become opportunities for mindfulness. This attentiveness enriches daily life and reduces the sense of monotony. You discover that joy is not hidden in extraordinary events, but present in ordinary moments when awareness is fully engaged. Allowing simplicity can be challenging because societal norms often equate success with complexity and accumulation. You may encounter pressure to conform to expectations that do not align with your values. Buddhist wisdom encourages courage in maintaining a balanced perspective. It suggests that true contentment arises from understanding impermanence and recognizing that external achievements cannot provide permanent security. By trusting this insight, you cultivate independence from fluctuating opinions and trends. Another transformative aspect of simplicity is generosity. When you are not excessively attached to possessions or status, you feel more inclined to share resources and support others. Generosity strengthens community and reinforces the understanding that well-being is interconnected. Buddhist teachings describe giving as a practice that reduces attachment and increases joy. By allowing simplicity, you experience the satisfaction of contributing to collective growth rather than focusing solely on personal gain. Over time, the consistent practice of simplicity leads to profound inner peace. You realize that many sources of stress were created by unnecessary desires and comparisons. By reducing these influences, you create a spacious mental environment where awareness can flourish. Decisions become clearer, relationships more meaningful, and daily experiences more fulfilling. This peace is not dependent on ideal conditions, but arises from a balanced perspective that values presence over accumulation. Allowing simplicity also supports sustainable living, both personally and environmentally. When consumption is guided by awareness rather than impulse, resources are used more responsibly. This responsibility reflects compassion for future generations and for the natural world. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes interconnectedness, reminding practitioners that individual actions influence collective well-being. Simplicity thus becomes an ethical choice that aligns personal fulfillment with broader harmony. Ultimately, allowing simplicity to reveal life's deepest joy transforms your understanding of happiness. You discover that fulfillment is not a distant goal achieved through endless striving, but a quality of awareness available in each moment. By letting go of unnecessary burdens, you create space for gratitude, compassion, and insight. Life feels lighter and more meaningful because you are no longer driven by constant comparison or fear of insufficiency. As this lesson integrates into your daily routine, you may notice a gradual shift in priorities. Activities that once seemed urgent may lose their intensity, while quiet moments gain significance. You become more attentive to what truly nourishes your mind and heart. This attentiveness fosters resilience because it anchors well-being in awareness rather than in external validation. In this way, simplicity evolves from a minimalistic concept into a profound path of liberation. By allowing it to guide your choices, you cultivate clarity, authenticity, and lasting joy. You engage with life wholeheartedly while remaining free from the pressures of excess and comparison. This balance creates a stable foundation for wisdom and compassion, enabling you to live with purpose and peace in an ever-changing world. 19. Allow acceptance to dissolve your inner battles. One of the most exhausting experiences in human life is the constant inner conflict between how things are and how we believe they should be. The mind often resists reality, creating silent battles against circumstances, emotions, and even against the self. People may struggle to accept their past decisions, their current limitations, or the uncertainty of the future. This resistance generates tension that can overshadow even positive aspects of life. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true peace is not achieved by forcing reality to match personal expectations, but by allowing acceptance to gradually dissolve these internal battles. Acceptance is not weakness or surrender. It is a courageous recognition of truth that opens the path to clarity and transformation. Many individuals misunderstand acceptance as passivity. They fear that accepting a difficult situation means giving up hope or ambition. In reality, acceptance is the foundation of wise action. When you see reality clearly, without denial or exaggeration, you are better equipped to respond effectively. For example, acknowledging a mistake does not diminish your potential. It provides valuable insight for improvement. Similarly, accepting uncertainty does not prevent planning. It encourages flexibility and resilience. Allowing acceptance means understanding that resistance consumes energy that could otherwise be directed toward growth. Inner battles often arise from attachment to fixed ideas about identity and success. People create mental images of who they should be, comparing themselves to societal standards or personal expectations. When reality deviates from these images, frustration and self-criticism emerge. Buddhist teachings emphasize the impermanent and evolving nature of identity. By allowing acceptance, you release the pressure to conform to rigid definitions. You begin to see yourself as a dynamic process rather than a static label. This perspective fosters compassion toward personal imperfections and encourages continuous learning. Acceptance also transforms the experience of emotional pain. When difficult feelings arise, the instinctive reaction is often suppression or distraction. This avoidance may provide temporary relief, but can intensify suffering over time. Allowing emotions to be acknowledged without judgment reduces their intensity and duration. Mindfulness practices encourage observing sensations and thoughts as passing phenomena rather than permanent threats. Through acceptance, you discover that emotions are teachers, revealing unmet needs, unresolved conflicts, or opportunities for growth. Another profound aspect of acceptance is its role in healing relationships. Conflicts frequently escalate because individuals resist understanding perspectives that differ from their own. By allowing acceptance, you cultivate openness to dialogue and empathy. This does not mean agreeing with harmful behavior. It means recognizing the complexity of human experience. Acceptance creates space for constructive communication, reducing defensiveness and fostering mutual respect. Buddhist wisdom highlights compassion as an outcome of clear perception. When you accept your own vulnerabilities, you become more sensitive to the struggles of others. Acceptance also reshapes your relationship with control. Many people believe that happiness depends on managing every aspect of life. When events unfold unpredictably, anxiety arises. Allowing acceptance helps you distinguish between what can be influenced and what must be endured. This distinction reduces unnecessary stress and enhances focus on meaningful action. You learn to guide your efforts wisely while acknowledging that outcomes are shaped by multiple factors beyond personal will. This balanced approach aligns with Buddhist teachings on interdependence and impermanence. The practice of acceptance strengthens resilience during times of change. Loss, disappointment, or unexpected transitions can feel overwhelming if the mind is attached to permanence. By allowing acceptance, you reinterpret these experiences as natural phases within a larger journey. This perspective does not eliminate grief, but provides a framework for understanding. You recognize that transformation often begins with letting go of familiar structures. Over time, this recognition fosters confidence in your ability to adapt and evolve. Acceptance also deepens gratitude. When you stop resisting what is present, you become more aware of subtle sources of fulfillment. Simple experiences, such as supportive relationships or moments of quiet reflection, gain significance. Gratitude shifts attention from what is lacking to what is available. This shift enhances emotional stability and nurtures contentment. Buddhist philosophy suggests that appreciation arises when the mind is free from excessive craving and comparison. Allowing acceptance encourages authenticity. When you are no longer preoccupied with maintaining an ideal image, you feel freer to express genuine thoughts and emotions. This honesty strengthens personal integrity and fosters trust in interactions. Authenticity also supports mental health because it reduces the tension created by pretending or suppressing aspects of identity. Buddhist teachings describe this state as alignment with truth, where actions reflect awareness rather than fear of judgment. Another transformative dimension of acceptance is its impact on ambition. Goals pursued with rigid attachment can lead to frustration if outcomes differ from expectations. Acceptance introduces flexibility, allowing you to adjust strategies without losing motivation. You remain committed to growth while acknowledging that success is not always linear. This balanced mindset prevents burnout and encourages sustainable progress. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes the middle path, avoiding extremes of complacency or obsession. Acceptance also enhances spiritual insight. By observing the transient nature of experiences, you develop a deeper understanding of impermanence. This understanding reduces fear of change and fosters humility. You recognize that all beings share vulnerability and aspiration. Compassion arises naturally from this awareness, guiding ethical behavior and meaningful contribution to society. Acceptance thus becomes both a personal and collective practice, promoting harmony within and beyond the individual. The cultivation of acceptance requires patience and mindfulness. Habits of resistance may reappear, especially in challenging circumstances. Each moment of awareness strengthens the ability to respond calmly rather than react impulsively. Meditation, reflective journaling, or mindful breathing can support this process. These practices train the mind to remain grounded in present experience, reducing the tendency to amplify difficulties through mental narratives. Over time, allowing acceptance dissolves many internal conflicts that once seemed unavoidable. You discover that peace is not dependent on perfect conditions, but on the clarity of perception. Challenges continue to arise, yet your response becomes more balanced. Instead of engaging in constant struggle against reality, you learn to flow with its changes while maintaining purposeful effort. This harmony between acceptance and action reflects a mature understanding of life's complexity. Ultimately, this lesson reveals that freedom is found not in controlling every outcome, but in cultivating a mind that remains open and adaptable. Acceptance transforms obstacles into opportunities for wisdom. It softens the ego's insistence on certainty and invites curiosity about the unfolding journey. By allowing acceptance to guide your perspective, you create space for healing, creativity, and compassion. As this understanding deepens, daily experiences become less burdensome and more meaningful. You engage with responsibilities and relationships without excessive fear or attachment. Decisions are guided by awareness rather than by rigid expectations. Gratitude and resilience replace anxiety and resistance. In this way, acceptance becomes a powerful force that dissolves inner battles and reveals the possibility of living with clarity, authenticity, and enduring peace. 20. Allow trust in life to replace your constant fear. One of the most silent yet powerful forces shaping human behavior is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty, and even fear of losing what one already has. Many people move through life with a hidden tension, constantly trying to predict and control every possible outcome. This fear-driven mindset often feels logical because it appears to offer protection. However, Buddhist wisdom teaches that excessive fear does not truly safeguard the mind. Instead, it restricts growth, blocks joy, and creates a constant state of inner unrest. Allowing trust in life to replace this fear is not about becoming careless or naive. It is about developing a deep understanding that life is a dynamic process that can be navigated with awareness, courage, and acceptance. Fear usually arises from the desire for certainty. The human mind wants guarantees before taking risks, forming relationships, or pursuing meaningful dreams. Yet life rarely offers absolute assurance. When individuals wait for perfect safety, they often remain stuck in comfort zones that gradually become psychological prisons. Buddhist teachings encourage a shift in perspective. They suggest that trust is not blind optimism, but a cultivated confidence in one's ability to respond wisely to whatever unfolds. Allowing trust means recognizing that while challenges are inevitable, so is the capacity for adaptation and learning. Many people interpret difficult experiences as signs that life is unfair or hostile. This interpretation strengthens fear because it frames the world as an unpredictable threat. Buddhist wisdom proposes a more balanced view. It acknowledges that suffering exists, but emphasizes that every experience carries the potential for insight. When you allow trust to guide your mindset, you begin to see setbacks as part of a larger process rather than as personal punishments. This perspective reduces anxiety and fosters resilience. You become more willing to engage with opportunities because you are less paralyzed by the possibility of failure. Trust also transforms how you relate to the future. Without awareness, the mind may continuously imagine worst-case scenarios. These mental projections create emotional stress, even when no actual danger is present. Allowing trust helps you differentiate between realistic preparation and unnecessary worry. You still plan and take responsible action, but you release the habit of obsessively rehearsing negative outcomes. This shift frees mental energy that can be used for creativity, problem-solving, and meaningful connection with others. Another profound aspect of trust is its connection with self-belief. Fear often undermines confidence by magnifying past mistakes or highlighting perceived inadequacies. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of understanding impermanence and non-attachment to fixed identities. When you allow trust, you recognize that abilities and circumstances evolve over time. You stop defining yourself solely by previous experiences and open yourself to growth. This openness encourages perseverance because you understand that potential is not static. Trust in life also deepens relationships. When fear dominates interactions, individuals may become defensive, controlling, or overly dependent on reassurance. Allowing trust creates space for authenticity and mutual respect. You communicate more honestly because you are less concerned about constant validation. This honesty strengthens bonds and reduces misunderstandings. Buddhist philosophy highlights compassion as a natural outcome of trustful awareness. By believing in the possibility of positive connection, you contribute to a supportive environment for yourself and others. The cultivation of trust is closely linked with mindfulness. Through practices such as meditation or reflective observation, you learn to notice how fear arises and influences your reactions. Instead of suppressing fear or being overwhelmed by it, you observe it as a passing mental state. This observation weakens its control and allows wiser responses to emerge. Over time, mindfulness nurtures an inner stability that supports trust. You become familiar with the rhythm of thoughts and emotions, recognizing that they are temporary and manageable. Trust also encourages courage. When you believe that life's challenges can be faced with awareness, you are more willing to step beyond familiar boundaries. This courage does not eliminate discomfort, but transforms your relationship with it. You begin to view uncertainty as an invitation to learn rather than as a threat to avoid. Buddhist wisdom often describes courage as the willingness to remain present with difficulty without losing compassion or clarity. Allowing trust strengthens this quality by reducing the impulse to retreat into fear. Another important dimension of trust is gratitude. When you reflect on past experiences, you may notice that many difficulties eventually contributed to personal growth or new opportunities. Recognizing this pattern builds confidence in life's unfolding process. Allowing trust means appreciating the lessons embedded in both success and hardship. Gratitude shifts attention from potential loss to existing support, fostering emotional balance and optimism. Trust also reshapes ambition. Goals pursued from a place of fear may lead to relentless pressure and dissatisfaction. When trust replaces fear, ambition becomes more aligned with purpose and curiosity. You work diligently, but you also allow space for rest and reflection. This balance enhances productivity because it prevents burnout and encourages sustainable progress. Buddhist teachings describe this approach as the middle path, avoiding extremes of complacency and obsession. Allowing trust in life also enhances creativity. Fear often restricts imagination by focusing attention on risks rather than possibilities. When you cultivate trust, the mind becomes more open to exploration and innovation. You are willing to experiment, learn from mistakes, and adapt strategies. This flexibility supports both personal and professional development. Buddhist wisdom suggests that insight arises when the mind is calm and receptive, conditions that are strengthened by trust. Another transformative effect of trust is the development of inner freedom. When fear diminishes, you are less controlled by external opinions or fluctuating circumstances. You engage with life more fully because you are not constantly calculating potential threats. This freedom fosters authenticity and confidence. Decisions are guided by awareness rather than by anxiety, leading to more meaningful outcomes. Trust also deepens spiritual understanding. Buddhist philosophy emphasizes interconnectedness, the recognition that individual experiences are influenced by countless conditions. Allowing trust involves acknowledging this complexity without becoming overwhelmed. You learn to cooperate with life's flow rather than attempting to dominate it. This cooperation fosters humility and compassion, qualities that support harmonious relationships and ethical living. The journey toward trust requires patience. Fear may reappear, especially during significant transitions or uncertainties. Each moment of mindful awareness strengthens your ability to respond with calm rather than panic. Over time, trust becomes a stable foundation that supports resilience and hope. You recognize that while life cannot be predicted with precision, it can be approached with wisdom and courage. Ultimately, allowing trust in life to replace constant fear reveals a profound truth about fulfillment. Peace is not found in eliminating all risks, but in developing the confidence to navigate them. When trust guides your actions, you experience greater clarity, creativity, and compassion. Challenges become opportunities for learning, and successes become expressions of gratitude rather than sources of attachment. As this lesson integrates into daily life, you may notice subtle yet significant changes. Anxiety decreases, relationships deepen, and goals feel more meaningful. You approach the future with curiosity rather than dread. This transformation reflects a shift from fear-driven existence to awareness-driven living. By allowing trust to shape your perspective, you cultivate a balanced, purposeful life, rooted in resilience and inner peace. 21. Allow gratitude to transform your entire reality. One of the most subtle yet powerful shifts a human being can experience is the transition from a mindset of constant dissatisfaction to a mindset of deep gratitude. Many individuals move through life with the unconscious habit of focusing on what is missing, what is not working, or what others seem to have that they do not. This habit creates a quiet feeling of incompleteness, even when life is offering moments of beauty, connection, and opportunity. Buddhist wisdom teaches that gratitude is not merely a polite response to favorable events. It is a profound way of perceiving existence that can transform suffering into understanding and restlessness into peace. Allowing gratitude to reshape your perception means learning to recognize value in the present moment rather than postponing happiness for an imagined future. Human beings are naturally inclined to compare themselves with others. This comparison can sometimes inspire growth, but more often it fuels insecurity and dissatisfaction. When the mind constantly measures its life against external standards, it overlooks the richness already present. Gratitude interrupts this cycle by redirecting attention toward appreciation. Instead of asking, "Why do I not have more?" you begin to ask, "What is already meaningful in my experience?" This simple shift reduces mental tension because it aligns awareness with reality rather than with imagined ideals. Allowing gratitude does not require ignoring challenges or pretending that pain does not exist. Buddhist teachings acknowledge suffering as an inevitable aspect of life. However, they emphasize that within every difficulty there is also an opportunity to learn and develop compassion. When you cultivate gratitude even during hardship, you train the mind to see complexity rather than despair. A setback may reveal hidden strengths. A loss may deepen empathy. A period of uncertainty may inspire reflection about purpose. Gratitude thus becomes a tool for transforming adversity into insight. Another transformative effect of gratitude is its influence on emotional stability. When the mind habitually focuses on deficiencies, it creates anxiety and resentment. By consciously appreciating supportive relationships, personal abilities, or simple comforts, you nurture a sense of sufficiency. This sense does not eliminate ambition, but balances it with contentment. You continue striving for improvement, while recognizing that worth is not dependent solely on achievement. Buddhist wisdom describes this balance as the middle path, where effort coexists with acceptance. Gratitude also enhances relationships by fostering mutual appreciation. When you acknowledge the contributions and kindness of others, communication becomes warmer and more authentic. People feel valued, and trust deepens. This positive dynamic encourages cooperation and reduces unnecessary conflict. Buddhist philosophy highlights compassion as an extension of mindful awareness. Gratitude strengthens compassion by reminding you that well-being is interconnected. Your growth is influenced by countless visible and invisible forms of support. Allowing gratitude can also reshape your relationship with material possessions. In consumer-driven cultures, satisfaction is often tied to acquiring new objects or experiences. While comfort and progress are important, excessive focus on acquisition can create dependency. Gratitude encourages a more mindful approach. You begin to value functionality and meaning rather than status or comparison. This perspective reduces financial stress and promotes sustainability, aligning personal choices with broader ethical awareness. Another dimension of gratitude is its connection with mindfulness. When you practice paying attention to ordinary moments, such as breathing, eating, or walking, you discover subtle sources of joy. These experiences often go unnoticed because the mind is preoccupied with future goals or past regrets. Allowing gratitude means honoring these moments as essential aspects of life rather than as trivial details. This attentiveness enriches daily routines and fosters emotional resilience. Gratitude also supports creativity and motivation. When you recognize the progress you have already made, you feel encouraged to continue learning. This encouragement differs from ego-driven pride. It is a quiet confidence rooted in appreciation. Buddhist teachings suggest that recognizing impermanence enhances gratitude. Knowing that circumstances can change motivates you to cherish opportunities while they are present. This awareness prevents complacency and inspires purposeful action. The practice of gratitude requires intentional effort, especially during periods of stress. You may begin by reflecting on small yet meaningful aspects of your day. Over time, this reflection becomes a habit that influences perception automatically. Meditation, journaling, or mindful conversation can support this process. Each acknowledgement of appreciation strengthens neural patterns associated with optimism and calmness. Buddhist practitioners often describe gratitude as a gateway to deeper insight because it softens the ego's tendency to demand constant validation. Allowing gratitude also transforms your experience of time. Instead of viewing life as a race toward distant achievements, you begin to value each stage of the journey. This perspective reduces urgency and fosters patience. You understand that growth unfolds gradually and that every moment contributes to learning. Gratitude thus becomes a stabilizing force that counteracts fear of being left behind or failing to meet expectations. Another important benefit of gratitude is humility. When you appreciate the interconnected nature of success, you recognize that accomplishments are rarely the result of individual effort alone. Support from mentors, friends, or favorable conditions plays a significant role. This recognition encourages generosity and cooperation. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes that humility is not self-deprecation, but clarity about interdependence. Gratitude strengthens this clarity, guiding ethical behavior and compassionate leadership. Gratitude also deepens spiritual awareness by shifting focus from craving to contentment. Buddhist teachings describe craving as a root of suffering because it creates endless desire for more. When you allow gratitude to guide your perspective, you weaken this cycle. You learn to experience fulfillment without constant accumulation. This shift fosters inner freedom because happiness becomes less dependent on external circumstances. Over time, consistent practice of gratitude leads to profound psychological transformation. You may notice reduced anxiety, improved concentration, and greater emotional balance. Relationships feel more supportive and challenges appear less threatening. This transformation does not occur because life becomes perfect, but because perception becomes more aligned with reality. You recognize both the difficulties and the blessings inherent in human experience. Allowing gratitude to transform your reality ultimately reveals that joy is not a rare event, but a perspective that can be cultivated. By appreciating what exists rather than obsessing over what is missing, you create space for peace and wisdom. This perspective encourages resilience because it anchors well-being in awareness rather than in fleeting achievements. As this lesson integrates into your life, you may find yourself responding to situations with greater calm and optimism. Decisions are guided by appreciation rather than fear. You celebrate progress without clinging to outcomes. This balanced approach enhances both personal fulfillment and contribution to society. In this way, gratitude evolves from a simple emotion into a transformative practice. By allowing it to shape your perception, you cultivate clarity, compassion, and lasting joy. You engage with life wholeheartedly while remaining grounded in awareness of its impermanent and interconnected nature. This grounding becomes a foundation for living with purpose, humility, and inner peace. 22. Allow inner stillness to become your ultimate power. In a world that constantly glorifies movement, noise, speed, and endless activity, inner stillness is often misunderstood as weakness or lack of ambition. Many individuals feel that if they slow down, reflect, or simply remain quiet, they will fall behind in life's competitive race. This belief creates a culture of restlessness where the mind is rarely at ease. Buddhist wisdom, however, reveals a deeply transformative truth. Stillness is not the absence of progress, but the foundation of clarity, strength, and true understanding. Allowing inner stillness to become your ultimate power means learning to cultivate a calm awareness that remains stable even when external circumstances are chaotic. Human beings naturally seek stimulation. From conversations and digital distractions to constant planning and problem-solving, the mind becomes conditioned to remain busy at all times. This continuous activity may create the illusion of productivity, but it often prevents deep reflection and emotional balance. When you allow stillness, you create space for observation. Thoughts, emotions, and sensations become more visible, enabling you to understand their patterns. Buddhist teachings emphasize that awareness begins with the willingness to pause. Without stillness, the mind reacts impulsively, guided by habit rather than wisdom. One of the most significant benefits of inner stillness is the reduction of mental noise. Many people experience constant internal dialogue filled with worries, judgments, and expectations. This mental chatter consumes energy and obscures clarity. By practicing stillness through meditation or mindful breathing, you gradually quiet this noise. The mind becomes more focused, allowing insight to emerge naturally. Decisions made from this state tend to be more thoughtful and aligned with long-term values. Buddhist philosophy often compares a still mind to a clear lake, reflecting reality accurately without distortion. Allowing stillness also enhances emotional resilience. During stressful situations, impulsive reactions can escalate conflict and regret. When you cultivate the ability to remain calm, you gain the freedom to choose responses rather than being controlled by emotions. This skill strengthens relationships because communication becomes more measured and compassionate. Buddhist wisdom highlights equanimity as a key outcome of stillness. Equanimity enables you to remain balanced amidst success and failure, praise and criticism, gain and loss. Another transformative aspect of inner stillness is its influence on self-awareness. In moments of quiet reflection, you may recognize motivations and fears that were previously hidden. This recognition is not meant to create self-criticism, but to foster understanding. When you see your patterns clearly, you gain the power to transform them. Buddhist teachings suggest that liberation begins with insight into the nature of the mind. Allowing stillness provides the environment where such insight can develop. Stillness also nurtures creativity. Contrary to the belief that innovation requires constant effort, many breakthroughs occur during periods of rest and contemplation. When the mind is relaxed yet attentive, ideas combine in unexpected ways. This process supports problem-solving and artistic expression. By allowing stillness, you create conditions for inspiration that cannot be forced through continuous activity. Buddhist practitioners often describe meditation as a source of intuitive wisdom that guides practical decisions. Another important dimension of stillness is its connection with physical well-being. Chronic stress, fueled by relentless mental activity, can affect sleep, concentration, and overall health. Allowing moments of calm helps regulate the nervous system and promotes relaxation. Simple practices such as mindful walking or observing nature can restore balance. Buddhist teachings emphasize harmony between mind and body, suggesting that inner peace contributes to holistic health. Allowing inner stillness also transforms your relationship with time. Many individuals feel pressured by deadlines and societal expectations, leading to a sense of urgency that undermines enjoyment of the present. When you practice stillness, time appears more spacious. You recognize that meaningful progress often occurs through consistent effort rather than frantic speed. This realization reduces anxiety and encourages patience. Buddhist wisdom describes this perspective as living in alignment with natural rhythms rather than artificial pressures. Stillness enhances compassion by increasing sensitivity to the experiences of others. When you are not overwhelmed by your own mental noise, you can listen more deeply and respond with empathy. This quality strengthens communities and fosters cooperation. Buddhist philosophy views compassion as a natural extension of awareness. By allowing stillness, you become more attuned to shared humanity and less driven by ego-centered concerns. Another transformative effect of stillness is humility. As you observe the impermanent nature of thoughts and emotions, you realize that identity is fluid rather than fixed. This realization reduces attachment to rigid self-concepts and encourages openness to learning. Humility, in this context, is not self-diminishment, but clarity about the evolving nature of existence. Buddhist teachings highlight humility as a prerequisite for wisdom because it allows continuous growth. Allowing stillness also reshapes ambition. Goals pursued from a calm mind are more sustainable and purposeful. You work diligently, but avoid the burnout associated with constant urgency. This balanced approach fosters long-term success because it integrates reflection with action. Buddhist wisdom encourages the middle path, where effort is guided by awareness rather than by fear or excessive desire. Another dimension of inner stillness is spiritual awakening. Buddhist philosophy suggests that enlightenment is not a distant achievement, but a deepening of present awareness. By allowing stillness, you become more receptive to subtle insights about impermanence, interconnectedness, and compassion. These insights transform everyday experiences into opportunities for learning and growth. Spiritual development thus becomes integrated with practical living. The cultivation of stillness requires dedication, especially in environments that reward constant activity. Distractions may tempt you to abandon quiet practices. However, each moment of mindful pause strengthens mental stability. Over time, stillness becomes a refuge you can access even amidst busy schedules. Buddhist meditation traditions often emphasize consistency rather than intensity, encouraging gradual integration into daily routines. Allowing inner stillness ultimately reveals a profound truth about power. True strength is not measured by how loudly you act or how quickly you respond, but by how clearly you perceive. A calm mind can navigate complexity with wisdom, while a restless mind may create unnecessary suffering. Stillness empowers you to act decisively when needed and to remain patient when circumstances require waiting. As this lesson integrates into your life, you may notice subtle changes. Your reactions become less impulsive, your focus improves, and your relationships deepen. You experience greater satisfaction in simple activities because attention is fully present. This transformation reflects a shift from external validation to internal stability. In this way, allowing inner stillness to become your ultimate power transforms your approach to living. You engage with challenges confidently, knowing that clarity arises from calm awareness. You pursue goals with dedication, guided by reflection rather than by anxiety. You cultivate compassion and humility, recognizing the shared journey of all beings. Ultimately, stillness becomes not an escape from life, but a way of participating in it more consciously. It provides the foundation for wisdom, resilience, and lasting peace. By embracing this practice, you discover that true power lies not in controlling the world, but in understanding the mind that experiences it. Life becomes heavy, not because it is meant to be difficult, but because the human mind often resists its natural flow. Throughout these teachings, one powerful truth continues to appear again and again. Peace does not come from controlling everything, forcing outcomes, or constantly proving your worth. Peace emerges when you learn to allow life to unfold with awareness, patience, and trust. The art of allowing is not about becoming passive or careless. It is about developing inner strength that does not depend on perfect circumstances. When you stop trying to win every moment, you discover calm. When you accept uncertainty, you discover courage. When you release attachment to rigid identities, you discover freedom. When you trust life instead of fearing it, you discover resilience. Each lesson is a doorway leading you closer to a deeper understanding of yourself and of existence. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that suffering often begins when we fight reality instead of understanding it. The more you resist change, imperfection, and unpredictability, the more tension grows within you. But when you allow experiences to teach you, when you observe rather than react, and when you let go of unnecessary mental burdens, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes lighter. Your perspective becomes clearer. Your life becomes more meaningful. Allowing does not remove challenges from your journey. Difficulties will still arise, and uncertainty will still exist. The difference is that you will no longer feel trapped by fear or overwhelmed by expectations. You will respond with awareness instead of panic. You will move forward with patience instead of frustration. You will live with authenticity instead of comparison. This is the true power of allowing. It transforms the way you experience success and failure, connection and solitude, effort and rest. It teaches you that growth is not a race, peace is not a destination, and fulfillment is not something reserved for the future. Everything you need to begin living wisely is already present in this moment. As you continue your journey, remember that allowing is a daily practice. Some days you will feel strong and clear. Other days you may feel confused or resistant. Both experiences are part of the path. With mindfulness and compassion, you can return again and again to the understanding that life is not meant to be forced. It is meant to be experienced, learned from, and trusted. When you finally understand this deeply, you stop chasing peace and start embodying it. You stop fearing change and start growing through it. You stop proving your worth and start living your truth. And in that quiet transformation, you discover a freedom that no external condition can take away. This is the art of allowing. This is the wisdom of living calmly, consciously, and fully.